sure you also send the link to us as well, because I'm going to send some of my viewers to the stream as well.
Okay, yeah.
I'm gonna share that in like Broken Crown in my private Discord server.
It's video link, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I thought so. Every stream it starts like this.
Yeah.
Hey, it's me, old boomer Archaeosophy.
Very funny. Okay, apparently we're live.
We are.
Oh damn.
Okay.
Hello.
I should see that on my main. Okay, yep.
Yeah, no.
And I'm gonna make a post about this too. I'm live.
I'm sorry, guys, that it always starts out this way.
No worries about it. Could be worse.
I was talking to the audience mainly.
By the way, hi audience members. You may be curious who the hell I am.
Yeah, we'll get to that. 1 second.
No worries, good to.
Did I spell everything correctly? Yep. Oh, and of course it didn't work, because that's just my luck. Here we go. So yeah, it's as simple as just saying pin. Pin the message to the top. I asked you that before, Scurvy, and you're like, oh yeah, you need a whole other app for that or something. And then I looked it up before we started today, and
for multi-streaming?
No, for pinning a message to the top of the stream. And you're like, you need a whole new app for that. And I was like, that can't be right.
Okay.
So I looked it up.
Oh, you're talking about the actual, like,
what else would I be
pinning a message on YouTube. No, I thought you were talking about something else. I guess that's my retard moment of the night. Well, one of many, as usual.
All right.
I will say about that.
So, technically I'm still getting this all set up. So much shit. It's hard to manage this. All right, so in the meantime, I'll just have you... how do you pronounce your name, by the way?
Just call me Kizza.
Kizza, okay. Can you introduce yourself to the peoples?
Okay, everybody. Well, my name is Kizza. My YouTube name is Supreme Emperor Kizza, only because to piss off pronoun fags. To give a little background on myself, I'm an English monarchist from ye old England, and I came across this channel thanks to our mutual love of monarchy and our utter detest for Republicans, among other things. And if you're aware of the aristocratic utensils, well, I'm basically his English equivalent, but more extreme.
I see.
Yes.
You're actually English, unlike him.
Yes, English. Yes, he's South African.
People are going to kind of find that strange. Like, wait a minute, he speaks with an English accent. What do you mean English equivalent? Like, no, that's a performance.
It's not all that English, tell you the truth. There's some other South African people that I talk to. They actually do sound a lot like Spoon.
Yeah.
Just I know. Like, you know, when he's not like kind of up playing the the voice.
I do know of a South African guy who I met on a podcasting app who actually has a channel with like 25k subs. He literally sounds like an old English aristocrat from the 19th century.
It's that Boer accent.
No, he literally sounds like an older English aristocrat. Like, think of like an old English explorer of Africa during the 19th century. He literally fits it to a T. He even has the mustache for it.
I see.
Yeah, but anyway, guys, what are we discussing today then?
First,
so, yeah, we are discussing. I wanted to talk about the whole Nick Fuentes being accused of being a Fed thing. I found that really interesting. especially since I've I've more joined his side than I have in the past. Like I don't like I don't want to be called a groiper, but I guess I basically am that now. Like I firmly believe he's not a Fed. And I could be wrong about that, but without a doubt, whether he is a Fed or not, he is helping our side. He really does, at least on the surface, for sure. He represents our side, and he has been speaking honestly about the small hats in Israel for way longer than we have, for way longer than we've even agreed with that. So no matter what you think of him, you got to give him some credit, at least a little bit. But Scurvy, I know you don't like him, so I thought it'd be an interesting
I'm rather
talk.
vocal about it.
I thought it would be an
I'm rather
interesting
vocal
talk
about that.
to start with that. So, what's
Honestly,
your issue with him?
although I will say, I guess my issue with him, it's like I read his Kiwi Farms thread, and I don't think he like. I think for those on our side, we need to actually have people of like good morals, and Nick Fuentes is just like the guy had a suspicious white stain on a Crisis King shirt. I don't think he's exactly a moral paragon of anything. Meanwhile, I'm over here. It's just like we have the we have these people. They're they're called the Saints, who have always been pretty hardcore noticers. It's just kind of the realm of being an Orthodox saint. Are they gonna be as bombastic and edgy as Nick? It's like no. But they're very smart people, very wise people, and they're already in heaven. So I'm over here just like the like if I want to, if I want to really listen to some serious noticing, it's like or read some serious noticing. I would personally read what they have to say because they really do have quite an impact, and now we're starting to see some of the impact like online as well. And I could go over what that impact is, because
The
especially people like Saint John Chrysostom, um, like now we're starting to learn, just how much the early church fathers didn't, don't really like the small hats and what they had to say, and they are very, very, very influential historical figures as well.
I
So
mean,
Yeah.
are they doing that in real time the way Fuentes is, like almost on a daily
no,
basis?
actually they were, especially Saint John Chrysostom. When he was
Well, what do you mean were?
speaking to
I mean right
people.
now.
Oh, like right now, I was drawing the comparison of like like especially back in the time of the early church fathers. It's like yeah, they were talking about the small hats basically like on a constant basis because you had a bunch of people who were just spouting a bunch of heresy, and Zionism is actually a rather ancient heresy, and the church fathers, that was kind of their whole thing, especially the first ecumenical council. It was all about dealing with all these different heresies that people created, and all these just kind of navigating everything. And just so happened that one of those heresies that they refuted thoroughly was Zionism.
Oh, okay. What do you think, Kiza? What are your feelings on the matter?
Like, I mean, honestly, when it comes to Nick Fuentes, I mean, I kind of laugh at the idea he's a far right political commentator when you actually
He's a
have.
lolcow.
Yeah, he is a certified lolcow, but also if you look at his positions, he's really just like obviously you're all aware of the trope alt right that came about from 2016. Technically
Yeah.
speaking, he's not even alt right, he's actually alt left because he actually agrees with the left on multiple aspects. He just doesn't like
Like
the
what?
outcomes of a lot of left. Okay, for instance, he's inherently a Republican, which is left wing. he doesn't support like Austrian economics. He supports like quasi, basically quote unquote nationalist twist on Keynesian economics. He's a full-on massive homosexual. I mean, I'm sorry, anyone who 69's Destiny cannot call themselves right-wing in any sense of the word.
So here are my thoughts on that, real quick.
True.
So
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
actually, I won't ask that yet. I'll ask that second.
Okay.
First question.
No worries.
Even if he is, how is that so detrimental? And I ask that because, like, I'm not one of those, like, we need to accept our enemies a little bit. I'm not like that, you know, the way Republicans do it, where they accept enemies wholesale, basically. Like, yeah, let's just invite the gays in. He is.
It's a matter of moral consistency.
He is. Here's the thing: none of us are perfect. None of us. Like, we all stand against things that we're at least somewhat guilty of. That's part of being human. But also, we already have, you know, Scrump, for example. He's against homosexuality. He's against it. But he is a homosexual. And so the way I see it is, we need to win. That should be the priority. Because if it's a purity contest through and through, then technically none of us are in this. None of us should be in the fight because none of us are pure. What do we stand for?
I mean,
that's.
I think there's.
But it should be a matter of what do we stand for, though. We don't stand for homosexuality, but if we have some effective gays on our side and they're against it, they live it, but they're against it, then let's worry about that for when we win. Let's deal with them when we win. That's my thinking on it. And so the second thing is, are any of these accusations actually confirmed?
Again, the Kiwi Farms does not lie.
I mean, we know with the leaked DMs of Destiny that when Nick, for instance, was spotted at Destiny's house, there's multiple DMs confirming that they definitely had sexual relations with each other. Just like how, you know, thanks to Andrew Wilson, we had confirmation that Destiny smashed Lauren Southern, and I might be misremembering this, or I'm talking absolute out of my backside here, but Lauren Southern ended up getting impregnated from such interactions, and she ended up having an abortion out of it.
I mean, I looked that up, and I couldn't confirm that for myself.
Well, again, the second part, again, I could be lying. I could be talking absolute BS there. So I'll hold that candle if I'm wrong on that point. But, and the position of Fuentes is a Fed, me personally, it wouldn't surprise me considering how many Feds have been exposed over the years through various political groups or individuals. Like, I mean, what's his name? Like Eric, what's his name? Eric, I know what's his name? Enrique, such and such from the Proud Boys. Turned out to be a complete Fed. What's it
Wasn't
called?
he like the leader or something?
Andrew Tate, you could add him on that list.
Well,
his dad was a Fed, and
yeah, he worked for the.
Was as well.
Yeah, I mean, someone tried arguing Andrew Tate was a Mossad agent, which was hilarious. I mean, in my country's case, Tommy Robertson, massive Zionist Fed, outright for the he's been part of the Zionist Fed brigade for like the last 12 or so years.
He's not trying to hide that though.
True,
Tommy Robinson, like he's a very outspoken small hat supporter.
For sure. I mean, like for instance, there's obviously Mark Collier of like Patriotic Alternative. A lot of people reckon he's a Fed. You wouldn't be surprised he's a Fed. Like, there's so many people out there where, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if any of these people weren't. I'd be utterly shocked if Fuentes wasn't a Fed. I mean, we know that the Feds have contacted massively politically influential YouTubers over the years. I mean, slightly going off subject, but like for instance, Philosophy Tube?
That Troon?
That Troon was contacted by the UK government to promote fucking lockdown propaganda. Literally. I mean, all the TikTok influencers that the Democrats fucking funded the last like 5 years, they're all Feds. Like, it's actually ridiculous. Like, it's so hard to find an authentic, legitimate so-called political activist or political commentator that's massive that hasn't had any contact with the feds. It's practically impossible at this point.
But Fuentes
Well, I
has
know of
been
one.
Fuentes has been consistently, actively anti-Israel, and no one
That is
else has
true.
been. I can't think of anyone else, literally anyone else, anywhere, not even myself, anyone
I mean,
anywhere who has been anti-Israel and outspoken about it for as long as he has.
I would argue Mark Collette was extremely anti-Israel for 20 odd years, and he's been around for a long
Well,
time. He was back in the
I don't know
he
who
was a
that is.
leader of the youth. Well, he's the current leader of Patriotic Alternative, and before that he was considered the head leader of the youth wing of the British Nationalist Party. He literally despises the state of Israel, and also there's multiple talks about how he endorsed he loved reading Mein Kampf, and he literally was with a woman who literally had a swastika tattooed on her neck, on her chest. I mean,
Ugh, that's gross.
I agree, tattoos are gross in general, especially on women. But again, like
And he
Fuentes
turned
is,
out to be a Fed. Is that what you're saying?
I'm pretty certain he is a Fed because there was many years ago there was very strong rumors about him being in a hotel room with two underage teenage girls.
The fuck? Like, what the
Yeah,
actual fuck?
yeah. Again.
Ugh,
The best way
disgusting.
to compromise someone is always a case of pedophilia. All right, it's a classic trope. I mean, there's a reason why the FBI, or is it the FBI or CAI, who technically speaking has the largest collection of highly illegal content, which I can't say.
Yeah. What's his face?
Yeah,
Steven Crowder did a segment on that a few years ago, and I saved that
yeah,
video. I have it somewhere just in case it gets deleted.
yeah,
But yeah, for
yeah,
sure. And I have a whole rant about this because it's never been
yeah.
confirmed for me, but I think I've had to deal with at least one Fed directly before. In fact,
I've probably spoken to a few.
I made a video on
Well,
it close to a year ago. I'm pretty damn sure that guy was a Fed, and just they always have creep written all over them, and they always try to project that onto you.
oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Like, I mean, hell, like, there's quite a few political commentators who I would not be surprised if they had tons, like gigabytes of that type of content on their hard drives. I would not be surprised whatsoever about it. Like, but going back to the Scrump analogy here, with him being a massive homosexual and being on our side, yeah, I've actually met the man in person. He's actually a chill person. He's actually very chill in person, and I've even done a video with him on Robot Wars. But his love interest, Everland, is quite spiteful, and I know this from personal experience. They are very vindictive and spiteful.
They, you mean
What do you mean?
he?
Like what about what exactly?
In regards to, like, if you say any sort of comment that kind of doesn't like boost their ego, they are very vindictive about it.
Wait, he's dating two people?
Yeah, he is. Grump is in a throuple situation.
Yeah, I
What?
suppose that shouldn't
That's
surprise me since they're gay. That's so typical.
yes. Again, yes, because like I said, I've met them in person back in 2021. But like personally, like I have no issues with Scrump in terms of the political analysis, or even just necessarily a person. It's just when it comes to the private aspect, when it comes to sexuality, it's kind of like, bro, you are giving off massive lefty vibes in that aspect. But for, because he is, I would dare argue in terms of British politics, in terms of British like political views, he is arguably the main brains in terms of the quote unquote dissident right. In terms of YouTube content creators, and he has an excellent insight of what is going to happen in Britain over the coming years. Like his video on the online safety bill from 2022, called it to an absolute T. An absolute T. And even he and his like basket weaving group with Academic Agent, they got flagged by the everyone's favorite Fed group, Hope Not Hate.
That doesn't surprise me. That name alone being a Fed group, that does not surprise me.
Oh yeah, like I utterly
Hope
despise
not
it.
hate.
I mean, hell, like their private events that they host, like I've been so tempted to go up there, but the fact that the feds were guaranteed to be crawling all over him, I'm actually grateful I didn't turn up there because the last thing I wanted is them to gain a picture of me and effectively making me unemployed because of it.
I see.
No, because at the end of the day, like a lot of my social media accounts, I hide behind this avatar so no one doesn't knows my face.
You gotta show your face because you're winning in an argument against me online. You have to do that now.
Again, being anonymous is not a crime, firstly of all, and secondly of all, why would I do that when I know full well that you're going to try and dox me?
Exactly. That's what I try to tell these people too. It's like as soon as you know what I look like, you are going to try to kill me.
Oh yeah,
I'm
that's
a
the worst
VTuber,
mistake.
by the way.
That's
So
fine. That's fine.
that's kind
I'm
of it comes with
that's
the
fine.
territory of yeah, I don't want to show my face because why the fuck would I do that when I have this model that I spent money on? When that's
No,
the
it's like
thing I want to show.
my avatar. It was done by the same lady who did the avatar for Aiden Paladin and her husband Bill,
I see.
which is it's the same artist, and I commissioned like £100 sterling of my hard-earned money for the artwork. And I've been using it ever since, and it's great. I mean, for those who are curious, because it's quite small on the screen, it's literally just Doom guy sitting on a throne with a cute little princess girl on the lap. It's arguable because I would dare argue, especially if you look at it from a monarchical standpoint, Doom guy, as a good, honorable Christian, does support Christ as king, and he's the ultimate
Yes.
Christian soul. He's the ultimate soldier for Christianity.
Yep.
And as much as it's going to piss off Americans, I don't care what they say, to be a Christian is to be a monarchist. If you're a Republican and a Christian, you're committed heresy and you should be punished for it.
I
Insert
Yes,
100%
sir, he's a
agree.
monarchist.
Yeah. Sorry, what was that, Arch?
I was saying I 100% agree with that. Like, it makes absolutely zero sense to me how
Yeah.
Christians think they can be Christian and support democracy. Like
No.
you want the opinions of millions of sinners to decide everything. How does that make sense to you? Especially when you just read the Bible. Just read the Bible. There's hierarchy all over the place. Not
Hell.
equality, hierarchy, strict hierarchy. But I also have to ask, like, I don't know, it just seems like I don't know how to phrase this.
The American zeitgeist has captured the entire world.
I'm not saying that, like, we should tolerate any sin, but I just have to wonder, like, where do you draw the line exactly? Because none of us are perfect, and if someone's going to help us win the fight, and they're not, like, actively hurting someone, why can't we... I don't know how to phrase this. Like, I don't want to accidentally sound like I'm justifying anyone's sin here, but none of us is completely devoid of sin.
No, I'm not arguing on the grounds of perfection. It's more of a case of, like, when it comes to standards and gatekeeping, if you allow practically everyone, you inherently devalue a system or movement by it.
But they themselves are against it, though. Like, Scrump is against homosexuality.
But
personally for himself, he gives into it, but he does not push it on others the way Republicans accept gays into their ranks, and they just they're totally cool with it, and they're cool with people saying it's cool. We're not. We are not that way, even though we have a couple of homos in our circles.
but with God damn it, with specifically Scrump itself, like I would have less of an issue with it if he said in the past he was guilty of massive amounts of homosexuals, but he stopped it, like stopped engaging with it, and let's say had what I like to call a 1960s marriage, which was a common trope in Britain, especially with like public schoolboy types, where they had heterosexual marriages where they produced kids, but they were, let's say, denying their homosexual urges. I wouldn't
But
have issues with that. This, in perhaps this is a bad example, but like I don't have issues with with ex addicts on drugs. But I'm going to take a slight issue if you're saying something's bad and you're actively engaging with it.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
it
Like, I
does.
mean, I think Andrew Wilson would say that's not technically hypocrisy, which is technically true because that refers to moral. It's more or less referring to morals per se. Like I have more respect for someone who was, let's say, an addict and then got clean and is actively stopping people from getting hooked on it. I have full respect for that, 100%. But what I take issue with is people trying to preach, let's say, ethics and morals when they're actively not living up to it. Because at least with an ex-addict, they've actually repented from addiction. If I'm using a religious argument, they've repented for it and are actively living by repenting themselves and actively working to stop people from falling into the mistakes that they made.
But they are still not sinless though, and none of
No,
us
I'm not
are.
saying that they have to be sinless in
And
this aspect,
what we still have
at
common,
least
the
they
common
redeem.
thread is that we're all still against this stuff. The very imperfections we don't all suffer from the same imperfections, but we all suffer from imperfections. And
Yeah, I'm not.
you're like
Sorry.
it's basically your argument to me sounds like just a giant PR thing. Like if your PR score is not high enough, then we need to reject you. I'm not sure I entirely agree with that. He's not. He is leading people astray by openly engaging in that. Yes, but as far as like directly harming people, he's not hurting anyone physically. Like, where do we
No,
draw the line?
I agree.
We literally have to draw the line somewhere. So where do we draw
No,
it?
I mean, if you go on the no harm position, then he's perfectly fine. But if you go and buy it from a stated versus revealed preference aspect, he is guilty of it. And he shouldn't, and we should like not have him inside if you're thinking it from a closed group perspective.
I suppose, but at the same time, the left excels at this shit. They dig and dig and dig. They invade your privacy. They stalk the hell out of you. I've been stalked. And then they find something, and then they try their best to spread it out to everyone, make sure everyone knows about it, and then that person's destroyed because their reputation's destroyed. Because we're all
Yeah,
imperfect, we then give all of our enemies that power. By trying to pretend to be perfect, we give them that power. And that's why the right is so fucking useless, including the actual right, like us monarchists. That's why they're so effective. We give them that
well,
power by thinking we have to look perfect on the outside. Like, I'm not
yeah,
at all excusing Scrump's lifestyle. Not at all. I
yeah,
find it just as disgusting as you do, possibly even more. But he is against it. He does not encourage people to do it. He is with us in being against it, even though he himself he does it.
yeah. Okay, that is true as well. But again, with the left aspect, the thing is they have no shame and are willing to be vindictive about it. Whereas I'd argue the so-called right, who I would argue are just old leftists, if they were willing to engage the same tactics, I would argue the left wouldn't stand a chance because we have multiple examples of this where you make them a victim, they fall apart relentlessly. Like, I mean, if I were to use an analogy, there is no better opponent to a zealot than a former zealot, because they know everything the zealot does, and they know exactly how to argue with said zealots. Like, for example, one thing that I used to get really angry with during my much younger days with so-called right wingers was was them falling into the fallacy of the Dune quote about weaker and stronger quote. I'm guessing both you two are familiar with that.
Which quote?
When I am weaker than you, I ask for freedom because that's according to your principle.
Yeah,
But when I am stronger than you, yeah, that quote.
Gotcha.
I got frustrated with many people on the right who took issue with my position that communists should not have freedom of speech. They said, "Oh, you're just as bad as them." I'm like, hold on. I support freedom of speech, so I'm free to say whatever the hell I like. These people don't support freedom of speech, so why is silencing them a bad thing? I'm merely making them practice what they preach. That doesn't mean I endorse it. That doesn't mean I endorse communism. It's no different to saying, if I impose Sharia law against Muslims, that doesn't make me a Muslim. Or me imposing laws of Leviticus against Christians makes me a Christian.
So maybe I'm just slow. Maybe I'm just dense.
Okay.
Or what you're saying? At the very least, we shouldn't allow anyone to be open about their sin.
No, what I'm saying is that that what I'm saying is that with our values, with us being monarchists, that should be our core tenet, that we're all monarchists, and that's the thing that we all like stand by. And all the other stuff, for instance, like when they complain about tyranny and that, we just laugh off or disregard, because we could just be like, shut up, shut up, you're the most tyrannical people, sod off. Just like, don't even argue with it, just shut it down effectively. A bit like when a petulant child's trying to play a gotcha game, you just basically shut them down for it.
I see.
So like, if I were to use the Animal Kingdom example, let's say you have a new dog that comes into the yard that's barking up a lot. The so-called alpha dog will just stroll up to it and demonstrate why it's the king of the pack. And that dog's got a simple choice: either submit or fucking die. In the dog's aspect, of course. In this analogy.
So what's that have to do with who we accept into our circles? Sorry.
Well, I'm saying in Scrump's case, if you care about the principled aspect, you could argue we shouldn't accept Scrump because of the degenerate homosexuality aspect. But if you hold a position we only allow people who are genuine monarchists in, and we disregard basically the fake monarchists, or basically all the Republican types, like the two Twitter accounts we both had run-ins with. Was it Monarchists of America, and what was the other one?
Radical monarchist movement, I think.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, like, I could safely say with my interactions with them when I did ratio them in response to them taking issue with the aristocratic utensils like tweets about supporting apartheid, they're basically in denial Republicans, and they should fuck off. Don't call yourself monarchists, you're just in denial Republicans, and fuck off.
Yeah, I full-heartedly agree. Like, they should fuck off. I don't consider them one of us.
No, for sure. Like, yeah.
So I'm a Christian first, a monarchist second. But I feel like monarchy is the engine here. Okay, it's not good enough to just simply be a believer. We need an engine here. We need a driving force. That's monarchism.
Yeah.
And maybe it's wrong, maybe it's inconsistent, but I do believe that should be the standard until we win. Once we win, then we can enforce Christianity. And I have no problem with enforcing Christianity. Like you can
Hell,
be part of our Christian society or get out, or like I have no problem with saying this is the rule. We will not tolerate any other faith, including atheism.
no, that's
But
cool.
we have to
yeah.
win first.
No, I fully agree. Like me personally, like from my younger days being a militant atheist, I would never use this term because I utterly despise this term, cultural Christian.
Yeah, yeah.
I utterly detest that term. Cheers, Richard Dawkins. You're a cuck. Now get out of my sight. But if I had to pick a religion to live under, I will always pick Christianity over Islam and Judaism every day of the week and twice on a Saturday.
That's one of the reasons I returned to Christianity, because I was an atheist for 11 years myself, and that's one of the reasons I returned to it, is noticing the evidence supporting it, and like every type of evidence, historical evidence, logical evidence. You just every society that's ever had it is improved. It's better than any other faith. Like you see what
For sure.
you see what Hinduism does to the Indians.
Sikhism does to the Indians.
Shit,
No,
it's a
no,
shit
no,
culture.
sir. No, no. Us Indian are the real aliens. No,
I
sir.
I mean, look at what Islam. I mean, look what Islam did to the Middle East. Well, to the parts that were formerly Christian. I mean, look at. I mean, do we even have to talk about Judaism?
I posted something.
I
posted something recently. Someone else made it, but I posted it on my Twitter recently. Something like most immigrants, most refugees are Muslim. It's like, yeah,
oh yeah, that's true.
That right there is evidence that Islam's. You know, I'm going to piss off way too many people if I finish that sentence. So you get
no.
I
know. I know exactly where you're going. Like my aspect as well. Like, funny enough, since we're on the talk of Christianity, I not long ago on X was arguing with a so-called American communist guy who claimed to be native, who had two so-called political degrees, who had two political science degrees, and he tried using Grok to argue Jesus was anti-capitalist, and I got Grok to admit. No, I'm not joking you. I'll give you the bookmark for the chat. Well, the prior to the chat, the arguments in question. But what was funny was I actually got Grok to admit that Jesus was not anti-capitalist, because Jesus did not, because the guy tried arguing Jesus was a communist, and I've heard so many Jews and atheists argue this point, like David, who's the Argentinian, David Pacman, make this argument, and I'm like, listen to here, you disingenuous cunt. Jesus was not a socialist because Jesus did not support forced coercion of resources and capital. Because communism is pro-theft.
Yeah, that's...
What is one of the commandments of the Bible? What's one of the 10 commandments? Oh, that's right. Thou shalt not steal.
Yeah, what
it people... actually endorses...
Goy, that's anti-Semitic.
Again, very funny. Private property rights are actually fully embraced under Christianity. And guess what? If you agree that Jesus supported free will, technically speaking, free will is one of the core aspects of English liberalism. Which, ironic enough, I got Grok to agree that if Jesus was alive today, politically speaking, he would be an English liberal.
Well, I don't know.
Based on the scripture.
I don't know.
No, based on the scripture about free will.
I don't know about.
No, I did say English liberal. I did say English liberal specifically, not a quasi-American liberal, which is basically an internal Marxist, an internal social democrat.
But Christ is the thing is Christ is king. So.
Oh, hey! And I'll say this right now: if you're not to be a good Christian, like we were saying earlier, any Christian that supports anything other than absolute monarchy, I'd argue you're a heretic. And I'm saying as a person who doesn't follow Christianity. So
yeah,
I guess
that's also true.
I mean, ironic enough, me as an ex-militant atheist, I argue I've done a better job defending the Christian faith than most Christians can say.
And that I mean, hey,
Hard, hard to
that's
argue
true.
with
I mean,
that.
I used to be an atheist too.
No, when I say
I
I
forgot
was
to mention that.
no. Honestly, when I say I was a militant atheist, I do mean a proper spiteful militant atheist. Like if I
Ah,
wanted to
like
be
the Reddit atheist.
no worst, I would argue I was more nasty and extreme than Christopher Hitchens was in his prime.
There, there's worse than Reddit atheism.
Okay, I'll put it this way, Scurvy, and Archie, you're gonna both laugh at this. I'd argued that the God of the Bible makes George Orwell's 1984 look like paradise.
Okay.
I'm not joking.
Wow.
Okay, let me explain, right? The idea was you have this God that knows everything about you before you were born, knows exactly when you're going to be conceived, when you're going to be born, everything about your life, and has the best bit of knows exactly what's going to happen to you after your death. You are watched 24/7. 1984 on steroids. That sounds like the worst form of slavery a world has ever seen.
But I would just counter that with, okay, so he knows stuff. How is that inherently tyrannical? Just knowing something.
Oh no! But that's the point, though, is that the argumentation I was going with, because Christopher Hitchens did make reference to 1984 with this, was that what people fear about 1984, if you were to be a militant atheist like I was, you could make that argument for the Abrahamic religions, that you have this all-powerful being who knows everything about you. You have no sense of peace or privacy, right? Now, I agree nowadays with wisdom and expanded knowledge of political philosophy and history, that quite frankly, most people need that type of figure in their lives because it actually keeps them in check. Because without it, they'll just regress into being effectively no different to a feral animal, just going off pure urges and nothing else.
Yeah. So
People need the church. But yes, sorry.
yeah, correct. So back on back on topic.
Yes.
What? So you say you're not a Christian, right? But
No,
you still.
I'm.
Hmm?
Say, no, sorry. Yeah, I'm a ex-militant atheist.
But you're not a Christian though. Still.
No, I'm not a follower of Christianity,
Okay.
but
But you
but
still
I will defend Christianity too.
you
I
still
will
defend
defend
it. You
Christianity
still think
too.
it's better than all the alternatives.
Oh hell yeah! Like I used to foolishly believe a world without religion would bring about a world of rationality, and I realized no, the so-called irrationality I may find with religion will be replaced by arguably an even worse form of irrationality.
Yeah, that's
Like
that's what I
people
came to
having
realize
sex
too.
with animals or transgenderism and all that. Crazy crap like that. It's like, oh no, hell no. Actually, this is actually, you know what? This isn't as bad. Or if I were to use a historical example, it's like thinking Charles I was the worst monarchy we ever had, and then we had Oliver Cromwell in the Civil War, and then we realized, actually, you know what? Charles I wasn't that bad. Let's go back to having a king, please. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
And let's disregard republicanism as an idea.
yeah. So on the subject of that, like you defend
Yeah,
Christianity even though you're not part of it. So like
yeah.
in Scurvy, I want your answer too. So what should be our priority? Should we only accept monarchists into our ranks or Christian monarchists?
Uh, I would say I at least for now, I would say we kind of need like just monarchists in general, and then later down the line, it's like for sure, then we could focus primarily on Christian monarchy. There is merit in the idea that we do need we absolutely need numbers, but eventually that actually needs to evolve into something, and the only logical evolution to that would be Christian monarchy.
Yeah, just go back to what we were many centuries ago.
It worked, and
Exactly.
and if we honestly, I think we should also be focusing, as monarchists, we should also be like arguing about function. It's like monarchies functioned a lot better than, whatever hellscape of government
Republics.
we're living in right now. I wouldn't
Ah,
even
yes.
argue we're a republic. I'd say again. I would argue that we're a feminine democracy.
You mean
Just
a China? Well,
I mean,
I would dare argue.
you may as well just say democracy because democracy is the most feminine system possible. So we're just a
Well, yeah.
democracy.
Well,
Yeah.
as
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, good.
You can go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, the lovely Aidan Paladin did make a good point on one of her Broken Crown podcasts, quite some time ago. All the symbols of democracy are overwhelmingly feminine, but the majority of representation of monarchy is inherently masculine. Now let's think about that, ladies and gentlemen. Why would the symbols of monarchy be inherently masculine, but the symbols of democracy be inherently feminine?
I mean, my answer to that is just because democracy is feminine. But what do you say?
Oh, I agree because because monarchy is honest authority, whereas democracy is basically appeasing everyone for the sake of appeasement.
Yeah, it's literal popularity contests runs your society.
Exactly.
I was also gonna say, a lot of the words that are surrounding monarchy, they like dominion, stuff like that, right? And, synonyms like that. They're pretty masculine sounding. I usually don't. Women typically don't say words like dominion and submission and very aggressive, hard hitting words. But women do like words like everyone, equality, egalitarianism. It's like those words are just like it's like hitting somebody in the face with a feather. It's very soft, very gentle. Meanwhile, us guys, we like to hit things. We like to control things. We like to have power.
Yeah,
So
in
our
fact,
vocabulary reflects that.
Well, honestly, it's not
that
even that we like it. It's that we're not afraid to have it and to use it. Like men, if you were to write this down, like if our existence was actually a fiction of like another existence, like if we were a fictional universe and someone wrote that men are both extremely easy to make content and also they're the inventors and builders and sustainers of everything, like a book publisher would be like, that doesn't make sense. How can you have half the population be these two contradicting traits at the same time? I don't think men really crave power. We're just not afraid to have it and properly use it for whatever we need to. That's just how I see it. Whereas women are just the weak in general, and women are the weaker sex. They need power. They crave power because they don't have much. They crave power because they're the weaker sex.
I'll be right back.
Sure thing, Scurvy. Yeah. Actually, you know what? It's actually a good example why. You know what? Actually, do you know what's the best tell? Actually, Arch, have you heard the? I'm guessing you're fully aware of the analogy of power corrupts.
Yeah.
I'd argue power doesn't corrupt. It merely reveals the true nature of people.
Yeah, my take is that it amplifies who you already are, but it doesn't change you. I think most people, most of the time, don't change at all. It just power and money are just amplifiers.
Exactly. Like prime example. Do you know how you could tell if someone, like best way to tell if someone's reckless with money? Give them a load of money that they didn't earn.
Yep.
I mean, there's a reason why almost every single lottery winner ends up back where they started within 5 to 10 years.
Yep, that's statistically true.
Yeah, like because people don't respect or appreciate what it brings. Like a prime example, I would dare argue, one, like for instance, people are always surprised and there's plenty of social science data on this, people are always shocked why the firstborn child is consistently the most responsible and the most disagreeable of all the children. If you have more than three, if you have three or more children, the oldest one is always the most responsible. The youngest child is always the most spoiled, and the middle child is the most likely to be a criminal. Consistently. If you have three kids, this is a consistent trend that has been replicated across multiple countries. And there's a reason for that. Can you guess why?
Well, the psychological impacts of their order of birth has on them. Like for me, I grew up being very quiet and very thoughtful, not just because that kind of runs in the family anyway, but because I was the youngest of the siblings I grew up with. All the siblings I've ever met, I'm the youngest one. I'm not the youngest one overall, just the ones I grew up with and I've known. And I was able to watch them. I was able to watch my older siblings fuck up. I was able to watch them lose their temper over nothing. I was able to watch a lot of shit that taught me stuff. And I learned from them. So yeah, my point being the order in which you were born does absolutely have an impact on you. And it does make sense that the middle child somewhere would be the most unhinged.
I'm back.
Welcome back, Scott. Yeah, so basically the logic is when you're the first child, you're basically the prototype test baby, which parents are extremely careful with. Firstborn syndrome, as I like to call it. They're very careful and they're much more restrictive of what you do, and they impose responsibility onto you naturally. When it comes to the second child, they become initially the spoiled brat who gets basically a free pass on everything initially.
Yep.
But when there's the third child gets even more spoiled and gets even more free reign to be a giant brat. But the second child gets angry because that used to be its position. Now
envious,
it's lost
yeah.
it. Which is why consistently the second-born child is the most likely to be a criminal. The youngest one of the three tends to be the most spoiled brat and have disregard for, let's say, again, it's not absolute, but it's a consistent trend that's replicated. With the third child being spoiled brat, the second one being a criminal, and the first one being the most responsible one of the bunch.
You know what
which
happened?
Is why.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Which is why consistently, when you look at, let's say, private corporations which follow, or even monarchies with hereditary lines, they consistently prioritize the firstborn over the second and thirdborn because of this.
Yeah, and as you were talking, I was thinking like, well, you know what happened with me and my siblings? The second one ended up being the worst one by far. To this day, he's still the worst one. I won't get into that.
No, that's fine.
I'm actually thinking, and we mentioned a little bit ago, or you guys mentioned a little bit ago, how it's ridiculous to expect people to like show their face, reveal their name, and all that. I've actually been wondering if I should do that. I've been wondering that for a while. And
no, don't.
I saw a post from Tristan Tate. I don't know if I follow him.
Anonymous.
I don't know if I follow him, but I keep seeing his posts. I think I follow him, but anyway,
I think it might be people. It might be people who you follow keep reposting it.
I don't know, but he posted recently. This was right after Nick Fuentes defended himself being accused as a Fed. Tristan Tate posted like, "This is the reason the right doesn't have a real movement, or the dissident right doesn't have a real movement, because all of you are anonymous cowards." And I was thinking, I mean, shit, he's not entirely wrong. Like, a lot of people on the right are afraid of putting anything on the line. They want results without risking anything. I mean, it's true. And it's not like none of us know anyone's names. Like, we know Andrew Wilson's name. I know Andrew Wilson's name. I know he lives in Michigan. I know a few. Like we all do. And yeah,
Yeah.
shit happens. But like, what do you expect? So I've actually been thinking about it recently, and I might I don't know, I might change my profile picture to my face soon. Haven't fully decided yet, and I've done it before, but at the same time, I I made a video on this close to a year ago. I have some like extreme fuck faces stalking me. I don't know what it is they find fascinating about me, but I have a couple of them, and they've doxed me anyway. So like, am I really revealing anything anyway? I don't know, just something I've thought about.
Well, I mean, I understand that, but what Tristan, it was either Tristan or Andrew who said this, what they forget is, under the political paradigm, a lot of people who revealed their faces at the start don't necessarily grow big. Quite often they did face reveals after they became big. Like if you look at, for instance, if I had to use the example, look at Carl Benjamin, Sargon of Akkad. His early videos, he didn't show his face. It wasn't until he gained like mass amounts of subscribers that he was able, and he obviously had the Patreon account, that he was in a secure position where he could reveal his face.
Yeah, I suppose that's
That
true.
it almost in the most, yeah, that's that aspect. Whereas when Trist, I forget, it was whichever the Tate brothers said this, it's like, well, hold on a sec, guys, you are not, you know, this and the right political activist for a start, and also, let's be frank here, you guys, technically speaking, were famous. You were technically, celebrities, 15 years ago. Hell, even perhaps even before that, if my timeline's correct, right? You were celebrities in your early 20s. We're not celebrities, okay? We didn't get put on Big Brother. We didn't get put on Shipwrecked, okay? In that aspect, and also like, we didn't come from a position where we could capitalize on such like public, on just having public recognition, where you could capitalize on it. There's that aspect. And also, for instance, like, us, like, let's be frank here, a few of the political YouTubers who got big, they got themselves in a secure position that they could basically live off their YouTube careers thanks to, Patreon and Subscribestar, through the community donating to them, that they were able to do that. But the vast majority of people do not have that luxury. They still got to work their, mundane jobs to put a roof over their head.
Yeah.
That's something because they're in a, obviously they did earn it. They're in a highly privileged position that they are embracing the purest example of hypergamy. That basically it effectively doesn't matter what happens to them unless they get completely debanked. They have all their property rights stripped from them, or they get publicly executed. They're fine. They're fine.
But
Most people are not in such a position.
at the same time, and you did make a lot of good points. Don't get me wrong, but at the same
Yeah.
time, if something happens to one of us because of our positions, no one's gonna know, because we were anonymous, and now we just vanish, and none of us know what happened to that person. There is a sense of security even when you're still a nobody. There is a sense of security of like, you guys know my face, you know my name. So if I suddenly vanish, like, something happened to me, or at the very least you can start looking, you can start investigating what happened to me. But if I'm completely anonymous, completely 100% anonymous, and then I just stop posting, stop talking entirely, it's just everything stops, you can do nothing. And I won't have any, not just me, but any of you guys won't have any retribution of any kind, because I didn't give you the ability to look into what happened.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that is true. But the issue is that from Tristan Tate's perspective, he's arguing from a position of privilege in a realm that he didn't actually engage in. He was completely outside of it, but both the brothers became a so-called face of so-called dissident right politics by the conflation of them being like hypergamous fucking male influencers who talk about fucking being pimp, being, some people would argue living the
The
rock
top
star
G,
lifestyle.
the top
Yeah,
G
the top
rumor.
G. Being top G and all that. Because what's funny about Andrew Tate is I came across him back in 2017 thanks to a Paul Joseph Watson interview. Not even joking you.
Yeah,
Right?
I've seen that
Most
one.
people who, yeah, that's when I came across Andrew Tate, right? And I didn't know him as Top G or what color's your Bugatti. I knew of him as a four-time European kickboxer whose father was a chess grandmaster. I was like, huh, that's quite an interesting look. Let's talk about this guy. Right? And then I basically forgot about him until he came back into the public face through social media during the COVID pandemic because of what he was saying on with the TikTok reels and on YouTube and like other political people talking about Tate and embracing the Tate train. Right?
Yep.
And that's what I found funny was that Tate became, in terms of a social media like sensation, you could argue he came out of nowhere, even though technically speaking he was a public celebrity. It's just that most people forgot about him because he wasn't constantly in the face of the media all of a sudden. He
Yeah.
wasn't like I don't know, he wasn't, throughout the 2000s or the 2010s, regarded as a pantomime villain like certain people out there. It wasn't like the case of Alex Jones, who's technically been a pantomime, to the media's case, a pantomime villain for 20 plus years, even though Alex Jones has been in the game even longer than that.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And I also wonder because their father was literally a Fed, that's been more than confirmed now. I just kind of wonder,
Yeah.
like, was their rise completely organic? You might
Yeah.
think of Tate as someone who rose organically, like he chose to be a
No, I'd say so.
kickboxer and then he chose to do his pimping shit, and he technically earned everything he has. But did he? Even then, like even
No, like,
for all the scumbaggery, like was it still organic? I'm not so sure.
well, when I say, I would say if you look at his rise, it's more organic versus some of the other public figures, if I were to use that term loosely, to some of the other people I've seen get rise to. Like if you look up any of these like TikTok debaters, like what's his name, Dean
Oh,
Withers.
like dysgenic Dean.
Yeah, like those
I
people,
hate that guy.
they are pure Fed pushers, okay, who are pushed by like the the Democratic Party and like all like the people in like Silicon Valley pushing them, okay? They are deliberately pushed by the algorithm, okay?
Just look at
Whereas
that Harry Sisson guy. Like he was defending Biden even after that horrible debate performance. Like I think
yeah,
I mean one he is very retarded, but he also knows that if I just push the regime, I'm gonna get. If I'm just gonna push the regime propaganda, I'm gonna get paid. So it's literally like the
exactly.
guy in Idiocracy who just says "brought to you by Carl's Jr." because they pay him every time he does.
Exactly. And like talking about Andrew Tate, another thing that's kind of annoyed me with modern day politics is, you know, not to backtrack, part of the reason why I stopped becoming a militant atheist, ironic enough, was because of the feminism BS from 2012 onwards. No, pre-Gamergate and post-Gamergate. You know, that aspect really annoyed, really got me angry. And then I ended, you know, learning about the red pill movement and the so-called manosphere. And my God, like the amount of cancer that are inside the manosphere, or as a guy who I speak to a couple of times, and I've been on his podcast multiple times, Rich Cooper, he calls it the Mano Swamp. It's full of grifters and
Oh, Rich
liars, and
Cooper.
yeah, I actually do like Rich Cooper. I've been on his show quite a few times. Hell, he even
I
has a clip
see.
with me no joke, there's actually a clip that I will send both you to of me discussing with Rich Cooper, dispelling the myth of modern women are masculine. That they're actually they're not actually masculine, they're just unfeminine. And this is where I went into some
feminine
propaganda. Unfeminine.
Masculine is not like just hating men
Unfeminine.
and just like trying to do men's
being
jobs. That's not masculine. Not even close.
No, you're just being argumentative. It's like, no, these women are just unfeminine, because this is where I got into a small disagreement with Rich Cooper, is that I was promoting the propaganda for tomboys, that they are truly masculine women. As in because I pointed out, when it comes to masculinity, one of the core tenets of masculinity is being stoic. I'm sure you all agree with me. Modern women are anything but stoic.
They are very,
correct.
very fragile individuals.
Exactly. Like, hell, I'd argue women of yesteryear were not only more feminine, they were also more masculine. In a stoic aspect. I mean, hell, Queen Victoria, talk about an actual strong woman who ruled an empire despite being widowed.
And
that takes a lot of psychological strength to do that.
And she hated feminism very openly.
She despised the suffragettes movement. In fact, her speech, her infamous quote about feminism, saved twice on my phone. That's how much I love it. And I've actually shared it. I actually shared it with Rich Cooper, and he actually read it out on a stream on his other podcast, the Ladies' Nights one. And it was funny as hell when he read it out, the looks of the female guest's face when he read it out, especially the part where he said feminists ought to get a good whipping. It is so funny when you share that quote, when you hear feminists talk about like strong women. I'm just like, Queen Victoria is the strongest, the most powerful woman in recorded history, and she despised feminism. Hell, Florence Nightingale, who thanks to the aristocratic utensil, I was reminded of, and I looked at some of the things she said. Oh boy, she was very much on the nose when it came to the nature of women.
Mm-hmm.
Women cannot give sympathy, and my knowledge of women is as vast as Europe. And she is regarded as the author of modern nursing.
Yeah,
And guess what?
Florence Nightingale's one of my favorites too.
Oh hell yeah! And it makes me laugh how so many people in the nursing occupation don't even know about Florence Nightingale.
She actually referred to herself as a man, or something to that effect. So, not like literally, like she like said she was a man, but she said like something along the lines. I'm gonna butcher this, but something along the lines of like she is one of the men or something like that. I can look it up.
She's on the men's team. She's on the men's team when it comes to where they stand with the sexes. Or as let's say, from the man's perspective, she's one of the lads. She's one of the boys.
She's a man of action.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. She's a man of action, and people forget that she was also a statistician, and a well-respected statistician in her era.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, like I said, they don't make women how they used to. I mean, hell, another woman of recent history who I have huge respect for that doesn't get talked about by the feminist movement, Michelle Mouton. I'm not sure if that name is familiar with you two gentlemen.
No, I don't think I've heard of her.
I am not familiar with that.
Okay, she was a French female rally driver who won the 1982 Drivers' Championship in the Audi Quattro. She actively competed on merit against men in the top discipline of rallying, and she won on merit. None of this fucking DEI, affirmative action bullshit. She competed against men in the most dangerous era of rallying, the Group B era, and she competed on merit. So anyone who talks about the motorsport industry, which I have vast knowledge of, and I'm actually educated in that field. Anyone that talks about women getting into motorsport, saying they can't compete, I just turn around and say, Michelle Mouton did in the world of rallying. What the hell's your excuse? What's your excuse? I guess she was just built different. And you think The 80s were far more sexist compared to the 2020s are. I'm sure you both agree with me, wouldn't you, gentlemen?
Yeah, but it's still not a
Yeah.
good idea to, full blown integrate women into men's stuff, though.
Well, I mean, to be fair with motorsport, they're not a it's not a gendered segregated sport because it's predominantly about skill. There's not about physical strength to say,
Well,
which is
I
like
mean, I just mean
yeah.
men's, like I said, men's stuff intentionally, like just men.
Oh,
Pretty much wherever
yeah.
men gather of any kind, women shouldn't be there generally. That's what I
Oh,
mean.
yeah. To a point, I definitely agree. I mean, look at the decline of gentlemen's clubs, which were segregated, and thanks to obviously post second wave into third wave feminism, they basically all died out because of lawsuits. Part of the reason they even existed was a way for men to decouple and de-stress away from not only away from their occupational work, but also away from the household. We literally had gender segregated spaces outside of bathrooms for a reason because they served a purpose.
Yeah.
It's almost like that's what these private clubs were all about, a place of social gatherings that people can de-stress, and build social cohesion within their own communities.
It's funny how much we demonize the past, and that's got to be a conspiracy of some kind, because the past, something I've noticed as I've gotten older, the past actually had the answers to a lot of questions that we've just forgotten
Well,
about. But everyone views the past as this cartoonish hellscape of everyone was a slave, everyone lived in like the worst poverty, just the worst everything you can imagine. That was the past, and today is still not perfect, but it's the best anything's ever been. And I just think, well,
okay.
we have air conditioning now, but apart from that, what are you talking about?
Yeah. I think this is the fallacy of like modernity, or just like the fallacy of like the ever searching progress is always good. And it's like, well, no, because what are you progressing to? Like, for
Yeah, they
example,
can't answer that.
I was arguing about this on a Twitter space, which I spent nearly 8 hours arguing on before I came on here. One of the aspects of like, when we talk, I even argued with, on Twitter about this previously as well, is that if you look at, let's say, value for money and what you can buy with your own currency, you're getting mugged compared to your fathers and grandfathers in terms of buying weight or even just cost of living. I mean, hell, I know in the United States the cost of housing was a tenth of what it is today,
Yeah.
10% of what it was on average, and that's a national average. If you want to go to more extremes, I'll be surprised if it was 20 times cheaper compared to today. My country,
Yeah.
just in Britain, since 2000, house prices have increased by a national average 250%. But where I live, it's more like over 400%. But wages haven't kept up. No fucking siree. Hell, especially post the COVID pandemic. I'm actually by per capita rates poorer than I was in 2019.
Yep, and that's got
Yeah,
to
the
be the
Just
reason.
lockdowns were such a fucking mistake. I'll never stop saying that.
Oh, I'll go even further. Not only were the lockdowns a mistake, they were direct violations of our constitutional rights, and everyone who's in favor of them, they should end up being in solitary confinement for the rest of their lives. And that's me being polite.
But I think the lockdowns were, one, intentional, but also two,
Oh, I thought it.
the absolute undeniable proof that pieces of paper don't mean shit. Oh, but the Constitution this, the Bill of Rights that, the Declaration of Independence, none of it means anything. It does not
Yeah,
mean anything. And
yeah. Case in point.
and also on the note of pieces of paper, your vote. It doesn't mean anything. Power will do what it wants. I'm not a
Exactly.
monarchist because I think kings were just better. I mean, they were, but it's not just like some idea to me. I'm a monarchist because that's what I want the power to be. I want the power to be in one person, and he rules the elite. Because we
Exactly.
don't have any say over anything anyway. us plebs, us commoners, no matter what the system is, we will never have a say. Democracy is just lying to the people, making them think they have a say. We'll never have a say. I want I
Exactly.
want a king because I don't want the elites running amok, doing whatever they want and getting away with it. Simple.
Oh, for sure, for sure. In my case, I, the extreme position. I support absolute monarchy because it's the only honest form of government that exists.
Yeah,
Yep.
there's a long list of reasons it's better, but yeah, that's one of them.
Well, one thing. I mean, prime example. I'm not sure if Kudasyavan's gone over this a million times, but one aspect I prefer. I'm sure we all agree on. We prefer monarchy over republics or any parliamentarian system, is because the monarch has direct incentives of the economic and social prosperity of the country.
Yep.
Whereas the republic or any parliamentarian system has no incentives for it because their wealth is not tied directly to the country. Their wealth is tied directly to their bank accounts. Whereas with the monarchy, the entire nation is their wealth.
Yep.
And one thing they don't want is the nation to get poorer because it means they get poorer. Whereas our wonderful parliamentarian democracy or any constitutional republic, the politicians, it doesn't matter if the country becomes poorer because the politicians are guaranteed to be richer. Well, with one exception, of course.
Kings are also
But that's an exception.
yeah, kings are also a far more personal type of rule anyway. Not just like the fact that they visit their kingdom, like they travel around every once in a while to make sure everything's going okay. It's also because the way they rule, the way they run things, impacts their own lives on a personal level. Like your son is going to inherit your kingdom someday, and if you leave him a mess, like it could affect your son, like all of your children. It could affect if your
Your
parents are
wife.
still alive, it'll affect your cousins. If you care about your family, you will rule well. If you care about your own safety, you will rule well. Because the elites still have a lot of influence over you, even though you rule them. Like everything is better because it's so personal. It's a personal system. Whereas democracy is just win a popularity contest and then do whatever you want.
Exactly. I mean, case in point, what's it called? As we going off before, what kind of makes me laugh is the Republican types, is the vast majority of them, although a couple are honest, but they're more the left-wing Republicans. None of the so-called right-wing Republicans want republicanism in the private sector or the family unit, but they demand republicanism for the political sphere, which I find personally ironic because when it comes to the family unit, especially the family unit, but also the private sector, they support a monarchical structure, which I do find personally highly comical. What do you two gentlemen think?
It's all so deceptive. Like, I think monarchy is the only honest system, but democracy is by
Uh,
far the most deceptive. At least with
oh, for sure.
communism, socialism, they're oppressing you, but there's at least some honesty in why they're oppressing you. Democracy is just lies all around. I mean, communism full of lies too, but democracy is just like, oh yeah, do whatever you want. Like you're in charge of your own destiny. No,
Yeah,
people are not actually, for the most part.
yeah. I mean, case in point, uh, like for example, I actually had this argument on X earlier, is that how the so-called values of Europe or the so-called modern day modernity values blatantly violate the law of non-contradiction, which I do find comical. Is when people use the term liberal democracy, that is a classic example of a misnomer or an oxymoron, because a liberal democracy cannot technically exist because democracy's core value and liberalism's core value are contradict each other because one's about minority rights and the other's about the rule of the majority. Both cannot coexist at the same time.
We technically established on a previous stream that democracy itself technically can't exist, because if you put literally everything to a vote, that would be democracy in its purest form. Everything is put to a vote. You wouldn't get anywhere for 5 minutes if that were the case.
Oh, for sure.
Every system is a bastardization of monarchy, because the power structure is always going to be the same. Someone is in charge more than everyone else. There's always going to be an elite class of people, and then there's going to be the commoners. It's the same thing no matter what the system is. It's just every other ideological system is just different levels of denial. So it goes right back. It goes right back to what I said. Monarchy is the only honest system.
Yeah, but the only thing I would disagree with, I would argue absolute monarchy is the only honest one, whereas a constitutional monarchy, which I have to deal with my country, is dishonest because of the constitution aspects and also the rule of the monarch. Which states the parliament has been stripped.
When I say monarchy, I always mean absolute. I think that's the only kind. Yeah. I think that's the only kind of monarchy there is. If the king's power is officially reduced to any extent, any at all, he's no longer a king.
Yeah,
that's what I believe.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fair, and I will agree with you to that as well. Because since we talked up democracy, I like to use the very cruel example of the only place where democracy actually exists in function is when it comes to gang-related criminality. Gang-based criminality. Well, if I were to use the gang hard R, well, guess what? There's one victim and multiple perpetrators who benefit from the victimization in question. That is democracy in action.
Technically,
but no one wants to be honest about that fact. And hell, even better, I actually used this argument earlier regarding a space that was in. A good argument against democracy is the fact that democracy gave rise to fascism and National Socialism.
Yeah, the whole 20th century is to blame on democracy for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. Question. Like and get people to admit that fact that Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini were both elected in their parliament.
Yep. Oh, like that. I'm sure you remember that argument with that fascist I got into. That fascist who was like, Hitler was a true autocrat, and I was like, well, he had the highest authority. He was the supreme authority, but he was not the only authority. And I think it was you, if I remember right, who like stepped in at the last minute, and you're like, yeah, it was still a republic. Like the Third Reich was still a republic.
Oh yeah. It was just shit. Yeah, it was just because I'm sick to death of these people talk about dictatorships as that stops them from being a republic. I'm like, no, practically all dictatorships you think of are republics.
Yeah.
With a couple of exceptions. Like literally all Marxist governments, with one exception, are republics. The exception being North Korea, which is a necocracy. The head of state is literally still Kim Sung II, who died in 1994. He's still the head of state of the country. Sure, his offspring is currently president. He's not even president of the country. He's actually, I think his, I don't think it's the current leader, it's the one before him. He was president of the army. Not president of the country, he's president of the army. And what comes after him, it's going to have a lower title. President of something. It's going to be a constantly low ladder effect of lower and lower titles of some form of president. And as we all know, presidents only exist in a republic. They don't exist in monarchies. But I digress. Like I'm sick to death of these people. Like, especially, I blame the American mythos for that. That if you're going to claim that republic, because I hate the American mythos that a republic supports individual rights. It's like, no, it does not. A republic, all a republic is a system of government that doesn't support monarchy. Its core tenet is opposition to monarchy. That's all it is. Okay? Doesn't matter if it's a Marxist Republican, a republic, a socialist republic, a communist republic, a liberal republic, a libertarian republic, a conservative republic, a centrist republic. They are all still republics.
Yeah,
Okay?
exactly.
That's all it is. Like, case in point, like, all that matters is the republic. And then I've had this argument with, especially liberal hawk twats. They go on about, they just because they call themselves a republic doesn't mean they're a republic. I'm like, yes, I agree, but the fact is they are a republic based on this principle of what a republic is. They all meet the republic aspect. If you're going to talk about the false argumentation aspect, well, guess what? America is perhaps the most guilty nation when it comes to false advertising. Land of the free, but you have the most laws on the book per capita than any other country.
Yeah,
We
it's
claim all about freedom, but our economic freedom is lower than the countries we call than the European countries we call socialist.
yeah, it's all just proof that the people are easy to manipulate. The people really are sheep. Because if you think about power, how power works, you'll realize there's no such thing as democracy. There is no such thing. It's all lies. It's all an illusion. The people never have power. Not truly.
Exactly, like case in point. Case in point, a common problem which exists in America, which rarely happens in the UK, but occasionally it does. Someone walks in with a very large gun. Doesn't matter if there's 100 people who don't have the gun. The one with the gun holds all the power,
Yeah.
and their rule, might is right, stands. And you listen to what that person with that gun has. Because if you don't listen, guess what? He's going to use said gun against you. And thankfully, I've never been in such a situation. But if anyone holds a freaking gun pointed at me, I'm going to be a good little slave and do exactly what they say.
Are you still there,
Because I
Kurt?
value my life.
You still there,
Yeah, I'm
Scurvy?
still there. I'm just listening.
Well, I hope you appreciate my commentary. But
Well, I guess it's really insightful.
oh hey, I do always try to be highly insightful of such topics. But
I'm hoping to get to the topic of hag maxing.
oh yes, sorry,
And
yes,
how
we should.
it's unnatural and why I
we
hate it, and it's a psyop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, we should get on hag maxing since we've been sidetracking a lot on monarchy. But yes, hag maxing.
I
yeah,
think I should open with this unless you guys have your own stories
Okay.
of
Okay,
being with a
I'll let
cougar.
you. I'll let you. I'll let you get to your reasoning, and then I'll just pop off like crazy. So I'm gonna store my autism for a little bit, and then
Yeah.
we can then we could get to it. But I'll let you start us off, Arch.
Okay. So yeah, when I was in my early 20s, I was with a cougar. Back then, it's not that I was like specifically attracted to them or anything like that. I specifically, hold on.
Yeah.
There always has to be some great noise in the background. So it's not that I sought out older women. I liked who I liked, and half of them happen to be older. She's not the only older woman I've been with, but I mention her the most because she was the oldest. She was 16 years older than me. When I first met her, I thought she was only like 7 years older. I'm just terrible with guessing people's ages. I could tell she was older, but I didn't.
to be fair, some people age very well, and others age like dried up fruit.
Yeah. So yeah, I liked her. I thought she was only about 7 years older than me, and turns out she was 16 years older than me. And I was like, well, whatever. I still like you. And I guess she liked me too. I don't remember how we started, to be honest. I guess I just made a move of some kind, and she reciprocated. But we were together for 2 years. Sorry, I'm trying to drown out the lawn
No, we
mowing.
don't hear anything. We don't hear anything. Well, at least I don't.
I don't either.
So we were together for 2 years. We did break up once for a couple of months, but overall 2 years, or 2.5 actually. I don't know how much I could say about the relationship as it was going on. Mostly what I have to say about it is hindsight. And in hindsight, I think for her, you guys can't hear it, but it's loud to me. I'm sure the audience can hear it. Anyway, I think about it in hindsight. What the hell was wrong with this woman? And then I hear a lot of stories these days about teachers, and what they're doing to students. And I just think, do women have a problem with people who are too young, without using certain words? Do women have that problem more than men? For a long time, I thought this might be the one thing women have on men. I don't think so anymore. I think women
You
are.
don't want to know the half of it. That's a rabbit hole that we cannot go down here on YouTube.
Yeah, well,
Because it gets so dark, it gets so disturbing. There's no other possible word that I could think of other than just it's truly evil.
Yeah.
I'll be honest here. I think part of the reason, especially for the women's perspective, is purely the power aspect.
Oh yeah, I can get into that for sure.
Yeah, it's the power dynamic aspect, which is because if I were to go with a very cruel example of this, slightly off topic, but it's the same principle. It's the fact that if you were to look up, for instance, the subject of infanticide, mothers are hands down the most guilty perpetrators of that compared to fathers.
Yeah, and trafficking. Just all of it.
Yeah.
They're more guilty.
Yeah.
All the subjects.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I remember I had to explain this to somebody, right? And I even explained it to a couple of people connected to Rich Cooper about this on a podcasting app I used to go on many years ago. I explained what it is. It's the double-edged sword aspect of empathy and nurturing traits. Is the fact that the reason I call it the double-edged sword is the people who are the most nasty and cruel to, let's say, the most innocent and let's say fragile people in society are often those who were originally the most kind people to it. Because this is what I mean. It's you could see it's the pendulum swing of kindness. The opposite is cruelty. And often the people who, let's say, started off kind. Now, I'm not saying this was the case for these women who are guilty of these crimes, but I'm saying from the duology aspect, those who are the most capable of being the best protectors are also the most capable of being the biggest perpetrators of causing harm to the people. It's that duology. It's very similar to like a hero and a villain.
Yeah.
That the hero and the villain are very similar, but it's the one key aspect that separates them.
Yeah. And that
like case in point, like if I had to use an analogy, sorry to interrupt, like for instance, if I had to use superheroes example, let's take Batman, for instance. Batman, part of the reason what makes him so great is he sticks to his code. But there are alternative universes where he decides to disregard his code. That is when he is at his most dangerous. Because people cannot stop him. Despite being immortal, he does have superpowers, but purely because of intellect and his disregard for the sanctity of life, he becomes a very effective serial killer, and in one continuity, he literally becomes a quote unquote authoritarian president of Gotham, where there's literally absolutely no crime. There is absolute zero tolerance for crime whatsoever.
But I'm sure in some way that system became the crime.
Oh, but in this alternative universe, literally, it's in one aspect, it's a paradise for many people because there is no crime. The streets are immaculately clean. There is no crime. Someone tries to, I don't know, take awkward with the check of the thing. The police are literally arrive within 30 seconds to take the guy away for not paying his check. Like zero tolerance of this aspect, and that's the dangers of the cruelty aspect of such people. So if you hold the position, I don't necessarily hold this position, but most people do, that they believe the women are the more nurturing of the two sexes.
Yeah, I
If
don't
you
believe that
accept
either.
yeah, I don't personally buy it because of this crime. But if you hold that position and you accept the not the paradox, but the duality aspect of when the pendulum swings one way to the other, it is only natural that those who claim to be the most caregiving of the most fragile people in society are also going to be the most likely to be the perpetrators of cruelty to said people, whether it be
Yeah.
infants or the elderly. I mean, Andrew Wilson did go over this with one of his debates when he's talked about elderly care. Female carers, on average, are more likely to abuse the people who they're meant to care for compared to the males.
Yeah. And I have a couple things to add to that. First being the quote I remember from this ex of mine the most, and I'll never forget it, was when she said that her favorite thing about me was that I didn't let her control me. And one of the reasons I don't believe women are more nurturing, when you technically apply the technical definition of nurture, one of the reasons I don't believe that is because the way women behave, even toward those that they're supposedly nurturing, it's actually a form of, one, control, but also two, how do I articulate this? Behaving as if they are superior. Like they know best, they are supreme, no matter what. Like you are too helpless to do anything. It's mommying, You just think of mommying. That's what I'm describing. You can't do anything. I have to do everything for you. Therefore, just think about it.
He's disconnected.
That requires absolute control. So why would
Arch, he's just not on the call.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I guess I can. I know the conversation kind of went in a bit of a different direction than I thought, but I can still say what I was gonna say because.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't know how to get him back on. He seems to be offline now.
So,
no.
Discord crashed for him. Not the first time I've seen that particular issue happen. Not on my end, but
hold on. Let's try to get him to call
anyways,
back.
Yeah, then I could ramble about how this is just how hag maxing is unnatural.
Well, while we're waiting for him to figure out whatever happened, this ex of mine, she said once her favorite thing about me was that I didn't let her control me. And that certainly helped me further along the path of realizing the true nature of women. But the reason that women should not be the older one in the relationship, I mean, like a few months is fine, even a year or two is fine, but I would say draw the line at 5 or more. And even that's pushing it. I would say any amount is pushing it. The reason is because they're weaker. The weaker one should not be in charge of the relationship, especially when it's their nature to be fragile, to handle fragile things, so to speak, handling babies, handling toddlers, they will treat you that way. They will try to treat you that way. And women in general do this, no matter what their age is compared to their partner. They will try to control you and make you feel like you need them. They want you to see they want you to see them that way. But if it works, they're not attracted to you anymore. So best case scenario, it's self-destructive. It's eventually self-defeating. But even more to the point, it makes the man more infantile. It makes the man more, maybe I should say juvenile. It stunts his development. And I'm not talking about just how developed his brain is in a physical sense. I mean just how he sees the world, how he reacts to the world. Being with an older woman will make him more childlike, or at the very least, prevent him from becoming more of a man.
Sorry about that.
So why? Okay. So when given what I just explained, you then have to ask yourself, okay, then why would a woman ever want to be with a younger man? It can only be for a sick reason. When she is not, she is not wired to be the one in charge. She is not wired to lead, with stoicism, with logic, with all the things that make men men. She's not wired for that. But she wants to be in a position of authority over her man. She wants someone younger when she is wired to handle people who are younger, namely children. It gets sick if you think about it too long. So try not to think about it too long. Oh, for sure. All right, Scurvy. Sorry, what?
No.
Oh, did I have Scurvy highlighted that whole time I was talking? Oh, my bad. Anyway, go ahead, Scurvy.
So, I've been waiting very patiently to basically say, and before I truly get into my tirade, I will summarize what I'm about to say, and I kind of alluded to that earlier. So hag maxing is not natural. It is entirely pointless on an evolutionary thing. And spiritually speaking as well, it's not beneficial for a younger man to be dating an older woman. And then also, the people who try to justify it are just a bunch of gooning degenerates who only see hag maxing via anime memes and don't actually know any bit about biology or reproduction. So now let's get into it. Well, actually, we'll start off with just all the stupid fucking anime memes surrounding the main protagonist of Persona 5 and with his teacher. What's her name? Sadayo Kawakami. I know her last name, but I forget her first name often. But the thing is, with those kinds of relationship structures, it, like you mentioned earlier, it's extremely predatory, and even the game makes mention that this is extremely inappropriate. I don't know why Atlas decided to add it in there, anyways. I guess player choice, but. And even then, that romance option is supposed to be like a joke. It's not meant to be taken all that seriously. But the thing is, it's like the player base decided to. It's like, oh wow, she's actually if you think about it, she should be the perfect trad wife, guys. And it's like, no, she wouldn't. No, she wouldn't. She has a fucking barren womb. Why? How is that beneficial at all to the continuation of the species? And I'm over here just like, as somebody who very much likes younger women. The girl I like, she's like 19 and Scurvy's 25. The reason why I don't get
I have to interrupt you there. I want to make this abundantly fucking clear. There's nothing wrong with that. I've heard people say that there is. Fuck off. That's normal.
The same
There is nothing
I'm
wrong
sorry,
with being 6 years older than your woman. Fuck off anyone who thinks that's creepy. I don't give a shit. Go ahead.
Yeah, those same. Sorry to interrupt, but those same women who take issue with that were the same women who were getting picked up by men 10 to 15 years their senior. They're all shutting up, okay? They're just in denial that they don't get any action anymore.
Actually,
Yeah, they all have barren. They're ugly and they have barren wombs.
I actually want to add something to what you just said. If you guys watched my latest video, the one where I talk about Lindsay Lohan, but the first half is about my story with my most recent ex. You know the age of the guy she cheated on me with? The guy, the real father of that child? So she was 19, right? You know how old he was? 60.
30?
He was 60.
60.
60.
Old enough to be her grandfather.
Yeah. She chose to sleep with him. They didn't even have a real relationship. It was just fucking. Okay?
Yeah, I bet he
And somehow, like, I've heard this online. Like, somehow that's not predatory. Somehow. But when it's, like, an entire relationship and he's just a little bit older, that is predatory. But if it's just fucking, he can be as old as whatever. That makes no sense to me. It's not predatory if it's just fucking, but if it's a relationship, it is. These people make no fucking sense. Anyway, I'm done.
No. On that point,
Yeah, going
Arch,
back. I'll let you continue.
No, Scotty. Go ahead with your story. Sorry.
So basically, these F slurs, like on especially on Twitter from the anime community. Then again, they're not exactly moral paragons of anything really. But basically, I see it most frequently, like in like posts from people in the anime community about this hag maxing bullshit, because none of these people actually have any experience with women. I don't like to sound like a leftist, but then again, leftists also don't have experience with women. Even the leftist women themselves don't really know anything about themselves all that well. So why should I fucking listen to what you have to say on your sick degenerate fetish when when I'm over here just actually trying to I'm over here thinking about I'm already doing some family planning stuff or whatnot, like as I have been for a long time. But it's like, okay, if I want to have a family, what's the kind of woman that I need? It's certainly not going to be a 30-year-old single pass through woman. It's not going to be that. But then it's like, oh, I think the reason why so many people in the anime community are into this hag maxing shit, it's like they only are seeing a 30-year-old woman in the anime art style, which is supposed to be an aesthetically pleasing art style. If they actually knew any of the 30-year-old spinsters I've met in my lifetime, I'm pretty sure their biological programming would kick right in. And it's not.
I mean, Skivvy, I know exactly what you're referring to because I'm actually a late millennial. I'll post my age in the Discord call, but what's comical? Yeah, so yeah, Arch, I don't know if you're younger than older than me.
I am older.
But okay, fair enough then. But like on this subject of hag maxing, I have dealt with, I've had sexual relations with women who were significantly older than myself. Actually, it was a similar age gap like you had, Arch. She was 34 and I was 18 at the time.
So 15, yeah.
No, I was 18. She was 34.
15-year difference. Oh, wait, sorry. You said 18, she was... Sorry.
No, I was 18, she was 34.
Oh, okay, good. Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, sorry if I didn't make that clear, but I've had I have had sexual relations with women significantly older than me. Hell, she was almost old enough to be my mother. And I do get to a point the appeal of it. I guess if I had to bring pop culture into it, I could blame the post-American Pie world for that. because it normalized specific tropes, such as MILF. I'd argue MILF did not exist in the lexicon until after American Pie existed.
Yeah, I
Maybe
think
that's just
I
me.
think that is true. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of the degeneracy you see at college campuses, I would dare argue, we got a preview of that, especially my age group. Yeah, I'm guessing that's a similar story for you. Skivvy, obviously, you're younger than us. It gave us
Yep.
a privy of the degeneracy that's going on college campuses. That was advertised as like a positive thing in media.
Yep.
Yeah, I've heard some crazy stories from people who were in university and stuff that got onto. I mean, hell, a friend of mine did a video on this many years ago. I don't think he still has on his channel, but he talked about the university to pornography pipeline.
Do tell. I'm vaguely
Okay,
familiar with what you're talking about, but
okay.
do tell.
There was a strong coalition to women getting in the adult industry that did go to university. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I could roll off some names, but I'm going to get judged if I name some of the names that I know for certain who admitted to this fact. You know, they're highly infamous in the industry for anyone who cares to do research. Anyone who cares to look up these names for research purposes, as the internet likes to call it. You know, they straight up admitted they got involved in the adult industry. A lot of it was to get a quick payday to pay off tuition fees, tuition costs of university. Straight up,
I
they straight
see.
up admitted this, especially in like the state of California. This is well known. And then, then obviously OnlyFans just took that to another level. But as for the hag maxing aspect, I'm sure we've all seen Sean Head's video on hag maxing.
I have not.
I think I
And
have.
okay, it's quite. How long ago was this? It was at least 6 months ago. Let me just double check on here. But again, on the subject, like, okay, from the fetish, like, I get the fetish aspect of it. I get it completely. Let's see, the Cougar epidemic. That's 10 months ago. Maybe it's the Cougar Yeah, it was the Cougar epidemic video. It was from 10 months ago. So I think nearly a year ago she did the video, right? But I get the fetish aspect. Right? I get the fetish aspect from the male's perspective. Now, on the female perspective, a lot of it's more about power.
I mean, let's be
That's what it
honest.
is. It's about power and
with
control.
women,
Yeah.
it's always about power. Every minute of
Oh,
every
for sure,
day,
for sure.
it's always about power.
Oh, for sure, for sure. It's about gaining power over somebody, or have someone more powerful than you taking full control of you. It's that duology, like almost that contradictive duology of them.
I
As with
see.
when it comes to the female sex. But anyway, right? The issue is, I'd argue a lot of the reason this hag maxing thing has kicked off, it's ironic of the byproduct of the fact that a lot of these women, these, hitting the wall women who are over the age of 30, are simply accepting the fact the type of men that they want are not interested in them. So basically switching strategies to target very young, impressionable men who don't have many options.
And they just want to get it in too. That's something else. Like especially
Exactly.
when I was in my earlier 20s.
Yeah.
That's something I mean, I didn't have any interest in older women, but that was on the mind. Like that's pretty normal, for a young
Yeah.
guy to have the old in and out on the mind.
For sure, for sure. But like my case, it was like my case is to quote, not to do a direct copy of what Arch said. If I happen to find some woman attractive, I happen to find them attractive. They could be in their 50s and I might find them, firstly, think they're drop dead gorgeous. They could be in their 20s and I think they're drop dead gorgeous. But that's just it. That's just it. And
I
unlike a lot
see.
of these hound dogs, like for instance, like if I had to use celebrities for example, if for instance, Marissa Tomei, I'm not sure if you two are familiar with her.
Who?
Marissa Tomei.
Oh, Tomei? Yeah.
She.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The
so her,
the
she's
aunt.
60.
For those who don't know,
Yeah,
that's Spider-Man's aunt in the Marvel movies.
Tom Holland Spider-Man films. She in the Tom Holland Spider-Man
Gotcha.
films, right? Yeah. I know her from What Women Want and My Cousin Vinny, right? Even now at 60, she still looks great, even though she's 60 years old. If she straight, if me being a single man, if she straight up said to me, "Hey, do you want to come back to my place?" I'd be highly tempted to do so.
Yeah, I don't.
Even though
Sorry,
she's almost double my age.
I don't mean to throw off your thought, so try to hold it in. But like, I just want to ask the question rhetorically: why is she still attractive? Is she attractive because she's older, or is she attractive because she still looks young?
She's still highly feminine. Like she's still highly feminine.
Yeah, highly feminine,
despite the fact of her age.
Closer to
great skin.
Closer to all of the attributes of being younger. That's why she's attractive.
She starts.
And
exactly.
When I talk about the natural order, I speak about that all the time. Like, it's a bastardization of the natural order. Like she looks like it, she acts like it. That's how she draws in the younger guys. But like, that's attractive to men for a reason. They're supposed to be with a younger woman. Makes healthier babies, healthier relationships. Everything is healthier. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not saying she's predatory just because she's still attractive at 60. I don't know if she's a cougar, but if she actively is a cougar,
she's married.
Okay, yeah.
No, she's not a cougar. Okay. She's not a cougar, from what I understand. I'm pretty certain she's married.
But yeah,
and also she's part of the reason she looks so good. She's of Italian heritage. Italians, in terms of Europeans, they age like East Asians do.
I've noticed. I've noticed Italians. I hate to say this because I'm fiercely tribal with Germanic peoples, but I think Italians are the most beautiful women on earth.
No. I have to I'll say this as an Englishman. The Latin women, women of like Southern European, are definitely on average more attractive. Yeah, I'll hands down say that.
Yeah,
I'll hands down say that on average is definitely for multiple reasons. But going back to my aspects with the hag maxing aspect or the cougar aspect, although prior to this it was more of a fetish aspect for the women where they just wanted some young penis because I don't know the men that they're with of similar age or if they were older men just obviously suffering from what they call erectile dysfunction. They just can't like keep up, for instance, and they just want a young guy who's just basically going to smash them to make them feel young again.
Yep.
There's that aspect, right? Because they get like almost like a second. I won't say a midlife crisis, but they get like the second wave of like a hormone rush.
Yeah, you want to hear my experience with that?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
So, I mentioned this on Twitter recently, and someone accused me of bragging. Like, I no longer think women are any prize. Okay, so don't think this is bragging. But this woman, the one who was 16 years older than me when we were together. Mm-hmm. Let's just say being in bed together was almost all she wanted to do. To the point I got sick of it. Like I'll admit, like not sick enough to like reject it, to say no. But at some point I was just like, again, really? And I'm not sure if it was like a drive, like it's just her natural drive, or if, like you said, it made her feel younger. And I'm tempted to believe it made her feel younger. Because I'm also a big guy. So she's with this big guy, this guy who's much bigger than her, much younger than her. And she even told me, because we broke up briefly once for a couple of months and then got back together. And when we got back together, she told me that the thing she missed the most was being in bed with me. So just putting it all together, I'm thinking, like, how do you arrive at any other conclusion than that? Than she was obviously using me to feel younger. What else would it be?
Well, by the sounds of it, much, it sounds like you encountered a potential nymphomaniac. Potentially. Not saying definitely, but that is potential what you encountered.
I'll think about it.
And what,
I'm tempted to disagree, but I'll think about it. Maybe.
okay, it's a potential. I did say potential because I actually know of a guy from like, what was it, like, what, 12 years ago, of a guy who got with a girl and then he told us that she was a nymphomaniac. And we were single young guys at the time. We thought, oh, right, this guy's hit the jackpot. Because, when you're young and horny, that's all you think about is finding a nymphomaniac, right? But here's the thing, we didn't hear from him for about 3 months. And then when we saw him, he straight up told us, like, he had to break it off because he couldn't handle it. He got sick to death of it. He had to end it. And one of the guys who he used to hang around with, jokingly say, "Yo, if you had enough, you could have sent her my way." The whole sharing is caring aspect. Yeah, you could laugh. You could laugh.
That's one
But
of
like,
that's one of the reasons it is predatory. Cougars, like that's one of the reasons it's predatory. Like, men don't understand, like, there's more to relationships than just that. And when
oh,
a
I
woman
agree
comes
completely.
along who's only just using them to feel young, comes along, uses them for that, they think they're getting some kind of fulfillment out of it, but it's really just her. And in the meantime, their development, like, becoming more masculine, more experienced with the world, that kind of thing, is stunted because this woman comes along and
I
just takes advantage of their drive, like, to spread their seed. It's not a proper use
yeah,
of that.
because the urges, yeah. Oh, I fully agree. Like for example, it's like okay, I'm only speaking for myself here. Obviously, anyone else listening, hears this after the episode. You could agree with this in the comments. But like, if I ever do a counter a woman, let's say a cougar type, who straight up just says, "Listen, I want nothing serious. I just want to like over," I can appreciate the honesty aspect. Because let's be frank here, a lot of women out there are not honest about what they want from a man.
Yeah. Oh, I could absolutely add something to this.
Yeah.
More often than not, like what I've noticed, a lot of the quote unquote born agains, they tend to very much be, I would say, what's the word? It's kind of like manipulative, but also it's like they're trying to. I guess manipulative would be the
Blackmailing.
right word. They.
Blackmailing.
Hmm?
Blackmail. Using sex as blackmail. A lot of
That
women are
too,
guilty
that
of it.
too. But I was also gonna say, like, for the what are you looking for? They will try to, and whenever you bring up like sex or body count or anything like that, they will always get cold feet when answering the question. And many
Yeah.
guys, especially of the more religious the more religious type of guy, um he might not be aware of this is what women will do, but as it turns out, that's usually what women do is they especially if she's attracted to you, she'll do anything she can to try to get in your pants. It's just um when
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
when you find out something that she doesn't want you to know about, that's when she'll start to get defensive. She'll be like, babe, I love you and only you. But it's just like, in my mind, especially these days, I'm just like, yeah, if you really did love me, you wouldn't have given it up to tons of other guys.
Yeah, but the problem is their arguments, the past don't matter, and I've dealt with enough of this red pill circles enough. I mean, how many times on the whatever podcast do you see women claim it doesn't matter but refuse to give the answer?
Yeah.
I
How many?
way too
It's
many
literally
times.
it's literally a running trope. And one thing I will say why I like about Rich Cooper is when he does his like shorts, where you see the shorts of him, where it's taking clips of when he's like driving about on his main channel. He does say one thing that is true about women, very true about women. is that when it comes to the subject of sexual relations, women who really like you make it very easy for you to have sex with them.
Yes.
In fact, they
Yeah.
actively
Absolutely.
initiate it.
That is my experience as well. And again,
Exactly.
I don't think
yeah.
women are any prize. I mean, especially after all the experience I've had with them. But for
Well,
sure,
yeah,
Oh,
they're
for
for
not-
sure, if they're into you, they will not even want to wait. Like I discovered the hard
Yeah.
way, no pun intended, that women absolutely use men for sex. I had a one night stand
Oh, yeah,
by
for sure.
accident one time, and I didn't even
Oh, yeah,
think
for
that
sure.
happened ever. But I'm a
no,
relationship
it's very
person.
true.
I'm not a womanizing piece of shit. You know, I'm very keen
That's fair.
on relationships. I don't just do mindless fucking. And this one female, you know, she was really attractive, my age, you know,
She was looking fine.
she
you could
was,
say.
and I thought she wanted a relationship. And it's so difficult to talk about this while one satisfying YouTube and their censorship, but also to not sound like I'm trying to brag. I'm really not. Just trying to explain history here and explain women, how fucking manipulative they are. But this woman, like we were hanging out. Like this was actually the first time we'd met in person. We'd been talking for a couple months online. First time we had met in person. And after just like 15 minutes, she starts saying repeatedly, and this is probably going to make you laugh. It kind of makes me laugh, but she repeatedly says,
imagine.
I'm so glad I'm not wearing a bra right now. Like the least possible subtle way you could say, like, let's just fuck without outright saying it. But she said that
Oh, for sure,
repeatedly.
for sure.
She said that repeatedly as if I forgot she said it the first time. And yes, you know, since I'm a guy, I have my weaknesses. I gave in. And then after that, make a long story short, after that, she basically said that she just wants me as a booty call. And I told her to fuck off. Like, I don't do that. And so that's how I learned women use sex in worse ways than men do. I'll just say that.
Oh, for sure, for sure, for sure. Prime example, because it's their main weapon, main what's the word? It's the main currency that they hold
It's the only
that
currency.
men desire. Yeah, predominantly, it's yeah, that's the main currency. And ironically enough, you know what? Rich Cooper did actually have a good tweet about this. If you remove sex from a relationship, if you remove sex from the relationship, 90% of women have nothing else to offer.
Yes, exactly.
But if you remove money from the relationship, 90% of women will see no reason to stick around.
Yep.
And here's the funny thing, right? This is what makes me laugh with that statement. That actually, ironic enough, proves that, and I actually had this, and actually I said this the first time I ever went on Rich Cooper's podcast. If artificial wombs were perfected and mass produced, what would be the power dynamics between the sexes if this became the new normal?
I kind of think women would lose all of their power. If we can
Wow.
make bots that feel just like them or even better, and we don't need them to grow babies anymore, like that would be literally making them obsolete. Unless
'Cause,
unless
I mean,
they like go hard, like trying to do everything they possibly can to have value again. But women don't realize
Be a
that
good wife.
sex is their only
Be a good
card to
wife.
play, and that
Yeah,
is
to be a
being
good
taken
wife.
away in real time through robots. And
Many women
yeah.
don't have skills beyond just getting boned.
Well,
Like,
here's the
how
funny
many of
thing,
them
right?
can actually cook? How many of them actually know how
Well,
to clean?
nowadays,
How many of them know how to
now,
make? How many of them know how to like take care of children? Or hell, how many of them
yeah.
even want to have children?
Well, that's the ironic thing, Scurvy. It's ironic you say that because I actually because when I brought this argument up about artificial wombs, I said to Rich Cooper because he was quite shocked I even said this answer because normally times when people ring into his shows they're talking about girlfriend trouble or something about current events, right? And I've never done that on any of his shows. I like to talk about something far more higher IQ, or we talk about cars since we both like cars. But I would argue the artificial wombs would be the great equalizer between the sexes,
Oh, big
as
time.
because the welfare
Depressing thought.
state and the government. No,
Yep.
I know that sounds depressing, but the reason I say that is because prior to second wave feminism and the giant expansion of the welfare state and women entering the workforce, that took away one major power men held over women, which was access to resources, finances mostly. But with artificial wombs, you've created an equivalent equalizer when it comes to women and the ability to the ability of procreation. Now, I would argue with such a great equalization, I would say the next generation of women, like Gen Z, okay, let's say mid to late Gen Z, but especially Gen Alpha for the females, the girls when they become women, they're going in the social dynamic aspects. They're going to be forced to make a very tough choice, which is to be a housewife or be another corporate model to the machine, to the economic assembly line of the corporate world. The idea of the strong, independent woman, like right now, like now you're
That
gonna
ain't
have to
gonna
make a choice
last.
because because I'm saying if this does becomes reality, because I think artificial wombs will not be mass produced for the general public. They will basically be tools for the elites to basically mass produce multiple offsprings and create basically a new aristocratic class where you could almost have a pure two-tier system, or ironic enough, a neo-feudalist system. I'd argue. Okay, now in reality, if this became a thing,
Mm-hmm.
Even
but
more.
hypothetically, if the ideal is these artificial wombs were perfected and mass produced to the point that any one of us could turn up at the clinic, donate some sperm cells, come back 9 months later and have our own child without the requirement of a woman, I think that would seriously force women, not only because they would destroy the power that they have over men regarding procreation, but also I think it's going to force them to realize, do I wish to be I think it will actually be a great detriment to all the ways of feminism with the encouragement to go into employment, and it actually forced them back into motherhood and being wise again. I would dare
Like,
argue if this future became a reality, I would dare argue if someone tried to normalize the aspect of artificial wombs, I would dare argue feminists would be protesting up and down the country, demanding that these things do not become a reality
I don't honestly
because it would
like.
take
I
away their
don't even
power.
have that much faith in women because like men infiltrating their sports teams and their locker rooms and
Ah,
shit.
yes,
They
the
didn't
trend.
protest that at all. And when it came to like the
No, no,
lockdowns, they were the most avid supporters of that. Like whenever it comes to evil shit, no matter what it is,
yeah.
women are always behind it fiercely, even to their own detriment. And for whatever reason, I just feel like no, they're going to support this too, like being completely replaced as procreators, or the
Well, I
ones
mean,
women
the
are
ones
their
that
you
make
own
want
worst
babies.
enemy.
yes, which is why they didn't have quote unquote autonomy or voting rights. But okay, that's my misogynist. That's my misogynist take for today, maybe. But what I have found with, especially when it comes to women, is what is funny is when it comes to women in submission, if you demonstrate you could take away the power or value that they hold, the natural inkling is to submit. It's very rare they actually fight. They naturally submit. I mean, case in point, right? This is a nasty analogy, but are you two aware of the war bride mentality?
Vaguely.
Okay, so basically,
Is
it's a
that like
survive. So,
when something like when their husbands are gone at war? Or sorry, just go ahead.
okay, so basically, the idea of the war bride, um, the war bride aspect is because if you when obviously we had warring tribes or warring civilizations for centuries, women as a evolutionary psychology survival instinct was to embrace being a war bride to the man that conquered that defeated their husbands.
Ah,
Yeah, I mean, I figured because I keep
Yeah,
this in mind and I use this as an argument sometimes
yeah,
that when the Nazis took over France, the
yeah,
birth rate went up. The birth rate
yeah,
went
and
up
lots of
because women just like no problem accepted their invaders and had their babies and married them.
exactly.
No
And
loyalty.
what happened was, yeah, yeah, exactly. And multiple, and here's the funny thing: a lot of those women after the war was over, a lot of those women who became quote unquote war brides were socially stigmatized and exiled from their cities and communities. And one of the key aspects they used to do to socially shame someone as a woman who was guilty of this was to shave their heads as a symbol of them being guilty of sin. Which is ironic because if you look at one aspect of women that they were more loyal of in the past was there's actually a tale. I forget this. The historian junkie. I see a couple of shorts. He has an Indian wife, but he talked about a story that happened in the territory we know now as Germany today, and I think it was around 1100 AD, where there was an army who turned up at a small village, and it warned the women that you will be allowed to go free unharmed, but you must take anything of your belongings on your back, and you must leave your homes. The women, being crafty women, carried their husbands on their backs, and out of pure amusement from the generals' armies, as well as apparently the whoever they were representing in terms of the monarchy, allowed them all to live because of it.
Hmm.
Now you tell me that is pure loyalty right there. A woman's willing to carry you on her back to make sure you live. Man, they don't make them like they used to, ladies and gentlemen.
I
that they
I mean,
don't.
hell,
personally have a hard time believing that's true, but maybe it is.
it's a story that's been told over the years. Like I find a lot of these folklore tales, they tend to be pretty true of various details. Like certain aspects might be obviously exaggerated aspects, but the core premise of the story tends to be true. I find with a lot of these old folklore tales. Like hell, I mean, there's even tales of wives who, when their husbands were murdered, they straight up sold all their possessions, raised an army, paid for an army to slaughter the person who killed their husbands. Now, I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, but that is true love and true loyalty right there from your significant other. If she doesn't raise an army to honor you, to honor your life, does she really love you?
I mean, again, I hope that's true, but with my experience with women, not a chance. That's what my brain's telling me. Not a chance that's a true story. Because to be completely
I
honest,
guess,
I don't think I've
yeah.
ever once seen a woman display loyalty against her own wishes. Like, like, uh, like food. Like you just ate a lot and you're gaining weight, and then you see a delicious dessert and you have room for that, but you're like, you know what? I need to cut down on the calories, so I'm gonna have to say no. I don't think I've ever seen women do that. Whenever they say no to temptation, it's because they're afraid to say yes. Like they'll face repercussions. I don't think I've ever seen
So
it
it's
where
not
it's like I'm gonna flat out deny you because it's the right thing to do. Not saying it's
well, yeah.
never
I can
happened, but like I don't think it's in their
modernity.
nature.
It's rare. No, okay, modernity today, I would definitely agree with that. But I would argue yesteryear women were built different. I mean, if I were to bring up Queen Victoria, she did not take it. She did not take, and she was truly monogamous to her husband. I mean, truly monogamous in the purest aspect. She didn't have a fling with another man. She was truly loyal to her husband, even after death. Whereas, maternity speaking, when it comes to women, Jesus Christ, I think the moment they start to die, they're automatically having an affair.
Yeah.
Hell, don't get me started on the current joke that is marriage today, because oh god, like
Yeah, there's no such thing as marriage today. Like it's just
oh
it's
oh,
just dating on
I mean
paper. That's all it is. It's not real
oh
marriage.
oh for sure. Like one thing that does kind of annoy me though is the subject of common law marriage in America, because when I was looking into the history of common law marriage, technically speaking, common law marriage was made illegal in Britain in 1753 with the Marriage Act. Because common law marriages back in Britain were what used to be called horseshoe marriages. I'm not sure if either you two have heard the place Gretna Green, which is right by the border of England and Scotland.
No.
Okay, so basically, thank you, Colonel, in the YouTube chat for getting me the details of that story I talked about. Thank you. But yeah, basically, where was I? Okay, so basically, back in Britain during the late medieval times, there used to be a term called horseshoe marriages, or as what they called back then common law marriages, where you got married outside of the church and without your parents' authority. So technically, it's outside the state's role, because in Britain at the time, the church and the state were technically one and the same. Like the church was like the mother of the state, what the monarch was the father of the state.
Yeah.
Right? And basically, you used to have these horseshoe marriages outside of the state. But here was the problem. Let's say one of the spouses dies and becomes widowed. Access to, let's say, resources for being widowed, you couldn't claim. You couldn't claim because you weren't officially married under the consensus of the church or the state. So when it came to, for instance, inheritance rights, the spouse didn't get it. Like let's say the woman's husband died, let's say he owned land and housing, she didn't inherit that because under the consensus of the church and the state, she wasn't actually married because of these horseshoe marriages, and that's what common law marriage was basically getting the title of married without the official clarification of marriage. Is basically the medieval equivalent of a civil partnership without the accolades or benefits of a marriage. And the problem is, since that was effectively made illegal in 1753, what I do find ironic is in the US context, I would love to see someone who has this knowledge, who is a lawyer, go to a common law state and argue under the court, to take it all the way to the Supreme Court and argue common law marriage has to be illegal under US law because of the 1753 Marriage Act. Now, I know that sounds ridiculous to say, but Disney tried to pull a similar stunt referencing King Charles with some old law saying that Ron DeSantis couldn't touch him. Not sure if you remember that from about 3 years ago.
Vaguely.
So yeah, basically,
Years ago feels like a millennia.
I know. We're all getting old, but basically, they tried to quote some ruling regarding King Charles III that's why they couldn't be touched by Ron DeSantis, which I find laughable. Is why are you quoting? Why are you trying to quote the head of state and laws of a country which you gained independence of almost 250 years ago?
Yeah.
Like, I thought after 1776, what we said didn't matter anymore. Unless, Disney, you want to tell us something we don't know. And you're going to tell me the whole revolution was actually a giant the most successful propaganda psyop ever in human history.
I heard a theory about that. I kind of forget how it goes, but it's something to the effect of like the British didn't really. How did it go? How does this theory go? You know,
British
if I
didn't
if I
actually
if
lose
I
the
try to
revolution.
recite it, I'm gonna butcher it. But basically, like they didn't really give up. They just implemented. They just enforced their power a different way. I think it was like through money or something. But never mind. I'll stop talking.
Through tariffs and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I've heard Andrew Wilson say that when it comes to the War of Independence, it wasn't actually a victory for the Americas. What it was Britain just stopped sending troops over, similar to Vietnam. We basically just said, "Fuck it, we're no longer going to fight you." Also, because we regarded India as more valuable compared to the 13 colonies.
Yeah, that I've always believed, and I think that's objectively true. That they,
Yeah,
British weren't defeated; they just thought this isn't worth it. But yeah, they
yeah, a
weren't
bit
truly
like
defeated.
I mean, an analogy I use with someone with the Vietnam War is imagine you're in a 12-round boxing match. You get two knockdowns against your opponent by the ninth round, but you decide to walk out claiming victory.
Yeah,
By traditional rules of boxing, you by default forfeit the match, even though you got two knockdowns and you were dominating your opponent because you walked out.
yeah.
They didn't
Yep.
like that analogy. They didn't like that analogy, but
So I want to personally. I mean,
yeah.
you guys can do whatever, but personally, I don't want to respond to chats because
Oh, that's
I want
Colonel. He's a
I
friend of
want to
mine.
like get something in return for all the effort I put into my work. But I will answer
No,
this
it's just
one
understandable.
chat. I will answer this one chat for this one time. Colonel Falker 18. It is most certainly Friday.
Yeah,
Wait, no. He said, also, I disagree with all of you. Actual love and good marriages are possible. The women for them are simply hard to find. You don't find them in clubs or pubs or other mainstream public areas. Very simply, I want to say I've never found any of my exes in any of those places,
yeah,
and they all
I
and they
definitely
all turned out to be shit, all of them.
yeah.
One of
Oh
them,
yeah, for
I
sure.
grew up with. Like I knew her before either of us went through puberty. Like we were very
Yeah, your
close
childhood friends.
for a very
Yeah,
long time. Childhood sweetheart is what I call her, and she still turned
yeah.
out to be a completely selfish piece of
Trash.
shit. I'm actually going to tell that story on my channel soon.
Well, for sure, for sure. Like, I mean, Colonel, he's actually an American monarchist, and he's also an Orthodox Christian as well.
I see.
I actually because I met him through Broken Crown. He actually I've actually radicalized him against well, he was a monarchist, an American monarchist, but I've actually radicalized him into supporting myself as absolute monarchy of the entire Anglosphere.
Hmm.
And he's good people. He's generally good people. He actually is a good person to invite into the Discord, if you wish. If you wish, Arch, as it is your server.
Yeah, sure. I prefer to get to know people a little bit, but yeah, I mean,
But well,
I'm
if
sure
you
he's
need
good
someone
people.
to back him, no, if you need someone to back him, I can fully vouch for him. In fact, Lamented guy knows him as well in our Discord, and
Yeah,
Scurvy will know of him because we're mutuals in Broken Crown as well.
Yep.
If you have an endorsement feature,
I thought we had lamented on the yeah, I think we do have lamented on the Archaeosophy server.
yeah,
yeah, we do.
yeah,
Yeah, we had him on before.
yeah. Yeah, Colonel is good people. Yeah, because
I
he
mean,
was.
nothing against him. I wasn't like that. I wasn't making that personal or anything. Just saying,
No, no,
like,
no, 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 no.
I've never found any of my exes in terrible places. And one of
For sure,
one of
for sure.
them was in possibly the best place, which is we grew up together, and they all turn out the same. And in the case, we're supposed to be talking about cougars, but fuck it, let's just talk about women in general. In the
Yeah.
case of my first love, she also acted like she loved me more than all the ones after her, like going out of her way to show it. And she still cheated, and she still left me for the guy she cheated with. Like, still turned out to be a complete piece of shit that, like, it's debatable if she ever loved me at all. Just objectively speaking from her behavior. Like, she acted like she did, and then she pulls that shit. I think I'm strongly of the opinion women do not know how to love. They are, as the weaker sex, they only know how to survive. And that's all they're ever thinking about. And because that's what their brain is always fixated on, they have no loyalty. They have no like true moral code. It's just simply what's more advantageous for me. Have you, Scurvy, as well as Kiza, have you guys seen that picture of Superman with Lois Lane? Like they're flying, and
I think I have.
Lois Lane thinks to
Which
herself,
one?
"Is this really the best I can do?"
Oh, you
I
know
love
what? You
that
know
one.
what, Ash? That
What?
reminds me of a clip I saw referencing a podcast. It's a guy making a joke about the Garden of Eden. I forget the comedian, but he says, "You know what, Eve? What do you think? The Garden of Eden. This is pure paradise. We think of everything we want. Everything was. There was no pain involved. It's great, isn't it?" Eve goes, "Yeah, but it's just not enough." And it cuts to like the guys laughing at that, and the woman's like insulted by like getting upset about it. It's like, what does he mean? And the guy's like, "Thanks for proving his point." And on this aspect of, I mean, again, I mean, this is the hypergamous nature of women, and ironically enough, the only way I could think of to minimize this aspect of hypergamy, this is why actually the old world was right, especially with like especially with the Abrahamic phase, was it effectively forced women to be humble.
Yep.
It actually forced women to be inherently humble of the fact that you will only be protected on the grounds that you show submission to the authority of man.
Yeah.
And the problem was that, ironic enough, like with women, but you could argue with lots of aspects of the animal kingdom, is that if you demonstrate you are authority that cannot be manipulated or undermined, they will naturally submit and go along with your reign, even if personally they don't agree with it.
Yeah.
Because you've proven yourself, you have the strength of character and authority to do so.
Yeah, I in my last video, my my most disliked video ever, I told that story of the only relationship where I had like a real non-egalitarian approach to it, because in all of my relationships before that, I was, you know, a soft liberal, and
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, I don't blame my first love for leaving me, because back then I was way too soft, way too emotional. I don't deny that. Like, I mean, she still didn't have to be so shitty about it, but I kind of
That's just how
understand.
women are.
I kind of understand like why she wasn't attracted to me forever. If I were her, I probably wouldn't have been either. But in my last relationship, I told her, like, I'm in charge. You have no say. I'll ask you questions if I actually need your input, which is most likely going to be never, but, you know, only if I need it. But otherwise, I'm in charge. What I say goes, period. And if you don't like that, there's the door. And she stayed. She didn't leave me. I left her, ultimately. But, yeah, she submitted. Women,
Yeah,
they
because it's
appreciate
that.
when you women they say they hate it. They'll say it all day that they hate it, but in reality, they like strength. They like seeing you at least showing that you're not afraid of the future. You can handle things. They want to see that.
They like competency. They also
Yeah,
love strength. I wanted to add that
yeah,
they love strength because
yeah,
it's simple. They're the weaker one. They're the weaker sex.
exactly. Yeah, which is why, like, ironically enough, this is why I kind of laugh with when feminists talk about like toxic masculinity. So I laugh about it because they can't even define the term. But when you look at the type of men they actually want based on revealed preferences, not the stated preference bullshit, they always go for the most inherently psychologically toxic, misogynist men that is near them. Always. It always happens every single time. Like, how many times, you gentlemen, as well as the audience, have you come across a girl who claims to utterly detest somebody who holds the feminist positions, but they end up getting with a dude who violates all their so called positions?
Yes, exactly.
I've seen
Every
this
single
happen in my
time,
own
right?
life.
Every single time, right? It's because they're fucking liars, alright? They are lying to themselves. It's because they love drama. They love drama because it's a form of entertainment and psychological stimulus.
Well, they also feel
Yep.
pressured by the women around them and the culture around them, which is supposed to be feminist. They're pressured by all these factors, their surroundings, to say
Yeah.
something, say things a certain way. But in private, if you're just one on one with them, they'll tell you something else
Oh, great.
entirely.
Oh, always the way. Like the best way to get an honest opinion from a woman is to get her away from the herd.
They
Always.
are very herd brained. Yes.
Yeah, they have a hive mind overwhelmingly when they're connected to the hive. The moment you break them away from the hive, it don't mean jack shit. I mean, prime example, right? How many times have you heard a group of girls complain about an ex is toxic, but their own girlfriends will happily want to happily get with the man in the ex in question?
Yeah.
They're very happy about trying to do
Yeah,
that.
it's a trope. It's an inherent trope because and I notice, and this what always makes me laugh when I hear women complain about adultery. I'm sorry, based on evolutionary psychology, women are inherent homewreckers,
I mean, just look at
not
the
men.
current day and age. Talk about home wreckers. Like that's all they've been doing for the past like 50 years.
60 years,
Yeah, that's
60
almost all
years.
they've been
No,
doing
but
is
I'm saying,
destroying their own families and shit. Fuck off.
oh yeah. I don't mean homewreckers in terms of destroying families, in terms of breaking up marriages. I'm talking about homewreckers in the sense of committing adultery.
But yeah.
Like women. But here's the funny thing, right? I joke, and I remember this during the times when I was going through the rabbit hole of pickup artists, right? During my embracement of being an anti-feminist and learning about red pill, right? The most common thing I've read up, which I thought was utterly ridiculous, because logically speaking, it didn't make sense to me until I learned about the Evo psychology. The biggest increase to use the red pill phrase sexual market value a man can do. The number one thing he can do is to wear a wedding ring.
Yes.
Oh boy, yeah, I
Man,
know.
imagine, fellas, imagine if I mentioned that when I was on when I was on a Corky Bug stream last week, and we were
Yeah.
talking about the like dating and you know from the Christian point of view. If I have a feeling if I mention any of like the I mentioned I think only probably 0.0001% of the things that I actually know about dating and women. Because that's because if I were to actually say and if I were to say anything that I actually believe, which I mean I think some of them know because I know some of them follow me. But I remember just even saying that you know men when I said, I don't want to show I don't want to show I don't what was it? It's like I don't want to show like emotion to a woman cuz she'll always use it against me. And it's like, wouldn't you know, I got the oh, not all women, but it's like, and in my mind I was just like, but this
Just
is
yes,
observable
all women.
reality. They will use
No,
it
just
again.
as
If you're
no, just
sad,
don't
they
say
will
every
use it
time.
against you.
No. Whenever time you hear a woman say "not all women," just say no. It's all women, all of them. Just
That
say
would
that.
have
And
been
that really makes them upset because
well. I
they'll
wasn't
try and
trying to
deny it.
make them upset. I consider them. I do consider them, like basically all my Christian VTuber pals. I consider all of them to be, like at least like friends,
Well,
at least to me. So it's a
look,
little different, but
well, Scurvy,
I
Scurvy, just
understand
bring
what
this
you're
fact
going
up.
at.
Just bring this fact up, all right? The 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 sin of man it always goes back. Eve is the reason man is sinned.
Yep.
Yes.
Just remember
I will
that, okay?
say, I was like after the stream, I was talking to another one who was watching, and I remember let's see, I remember him like saying it's like I think it's like out of everybody in like on the panel, it seemed like you actually had the most experience with it. Well, I mean, then again, I also told him a lot
Yeah.
about like just Scurvy's Dave Scurvy's experience with women at bars. But I remember him telling me, something like that. It's like out of all the people on the panel, it seems like you actually had some knowledge. And oh, my thing was, it's like if I shared too much of it, it's like I also don't want my friend getting banned on Twitch either. So that's the thing. You
Well, I
can't.
mean,
You think YouTube is bad with the with the censorship?
oh,
Twitch
I
is
know
even worse.
Oh no. Twitch is extremely bad unless you have the right opinions or you're very certain creators. Hassan
God.
Piker. Anyway, but yes, but on that point, this is what makes me laugh about when I've heard, especially the TikTok-brained women feminists argue this point when they claim, "Oh, the men are guilty of this." Like, no, ladies. In truth, it's only a tiny minority of men who are guilty of the things you love to bitch about, but you reward those men. Whereas when men are talking about women, we're talking about the vast majority of women. We are not
Yep.
equal. We are not equal, okay?
I did say
Especially
that.
since
I did say that.
I want to interject. Especially since
Yes, please.
like the reason both sexes say what they say vastly different. They say it for power. They say it for social cred. It's completely selfish. Whereas like when men say what we say about women, it's one, honest, it's not full of lies, and two, we say it because it's more like lamenting. We don't want you to be this way. Genuinely. We have nothing to gain by pointing this out, really, except for just warning other men for how you really are. But we want you. I mean, just it's a cliche at this point, but think of the trad wife. That's what we want, okay? Just be motherly, be nurturing, as we think of the word. All those things. That's all we want. Don't be a whore. Be a good mother. We don't ask for much. We don't want much. Stop destroying our families. Stop having abortions. Killing babies.
Yeah.
All this shit. We don't want it.
Well, funny
It's
enough,
like
it's Scurvy, sorry.
it's like we tell you what we want, and you don't listen to us. Like we tell you, don't sleep around with the top 1% of guys. Don't get the tattoos, don't get the weird piercings, don't get morbidly obese, and we tell you this, and like children, you don't listen.
Yeah.
It's so annoying, and it's just like I mean, at least I know some of the women that I know, at least online. It's like they at least possess some self awareness, and which is a rare trait. But I also know that the majority of women, it's like and I've met a lot of women, both in my undergrad years of college and my time in graduate school, where it's just like they they have the IQ of they have the
Me too.
IQ of your average sub-Saharan, and they do not understand the
Oof.
consequences of just why can't I get whatever I want by even though I'm a hedonistic piece of shit who only values their own pleasure, not anything else.
Yeah.
Why can't I be married? Why can't I? It's like, bitch,
Why the
you
fuck?
did it to yourself.
Yeah. Well, also to use the classic trope, um, I want a guy with all these requirements. Men who meet these requirements don't want me.
It's clearly my standards are clearly not high enough. That's
You
the
guys,
No,
conclusion they always reach.
I'm
no,
sure you guys have
no,
heard.
because
I'm sure you guys
yeah,
have
sorry.
heard the. It's also a cliche at this point, but they want a liberal man with a conservative body or like a conservative personality, but they want him to have liberal views.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, honey,
They
but
want like they always have a
law of
laundry list
non-contradiction
of what they
strikes me.
want, and half of the list contradicts the other half.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, you know, one thing I am sick to death of hearing in recent years, and I remember speaking about this on like the podcast app I used to be on, right? Emotional intelligence. That
EQ.
concept pisses me off when I hear women talk about it, because do you know what the two key aspects of emotional intelligence are?
Psychopathy.
No, being stoic and having self-awareness. What are
Oh
two
my
things women
goodness.
don't have? What are two things women don't have?
Not those.
Stoicism and self-awareness.
Exactly. So, to be emotionally intelligent is to be a self aware, stoic individual. Who are the majority of those again?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. A quote unquote misogynist right wing men.
Yeah, let's try to circle back to the topic, which is
Yes, yes.
cougars,
Okay, Gene, second,
and
yes.
this
Yeah,
this
hag
Yes,
maxing.
this beautifully segues back into it because this is why women should not be the older one in the relationship. This is why. They have the minds of children. No matter how old they get, they still have the minds of children. They still don't understand shit. They still barely understand themselves. Okay? And you don't
Yep.
want, if you want your man to be a man, don't stunt his experiences in life. Don't stunt his development. Don't try to hold him down mentally or emotionally. If I had stayed with the woman who was 16 years older than me, if I had stayed with her, I still would have been an overly emotional piece of shit. Just useless in every
Yep.
way. Well, most ways.
Yep. An
I would
overgrown man
not have
child.
grown up if I had stayed with her. That's why it's wrong. And that's why it's predatory. Because they don't do it for him. How could it
They
possibly
do
be
it for
for him?
themselves. Yeah, like that's what makes me laugh is that I get annoyed with this with mothers when they complain about how their boys are not functioning men, overgrown children. It's like, ladies, you created him, okay? You raised your sons as if he was a defected girl,
Yes, exactly.
okay? And
I
that's
know
something.
for me, I had to basically just like complete like it really was and people have commented like in my personal life, oh you changed so much. It's like, damn right I've changed. It's because I felt like I was lied to for a good majority of my life. And
Well,
now
yes, yes. I mean, a lot of people when they do become red pilled, quite often with men, and I went through this phase because I got red pilled basically at
yeah, the red
18.
pill rage.
Yeah, the red pill rage, right? Because of the fact that they were deceived and lied to. But here's the thing, right? Because like when I spoke about Rich Cooper, I sorry to bring this up again for like the fifth time now. But when he spoke about his life, he got red pilled when he was into his early 40s. He's now in his early 50s. But he got red pilled at his early 40s. a lot of the men he's talking about in his community didn't get red pilled. The youngest I think he knows of personally in his own network when they got red pilled was around 23 in his own network, right? Now I got red pilled at 18. And what's funny is especially if you're red pilled young, it's hilarious how significantly wiser and more on the nose you are when dealing with, let's say, not just with women or the relationship aspect, but just in general when it comes to politics. How much more you see through all the bullshit compared to everyone else who hasn't been red pilled. And I know it's like a trope with the main
Absolutely.
shows. It what's it called? The film They Live with Roddy Piper.
Yep. With the sunglasses, yep.
Yeah, with the sunglasses, right? That's what it's like in many ways. Like, I think of it a bit. You could think of it like the genie in the bottle, or when you drunk the poisonous chalice. Once you've drunk it, you cannot undrink it. You are forever corrupted by it.
Yeah, and that's why
You'll never
like
be the same again.
when I look back at my relationship with older women, it wasn't just the one; it was a few of them. When I look back, I just think like I didn't know it at the time. Like what women say about older men being with younger women, what they say about that is actually the reality for when the woman is older. The truth is the reverse of what women think they know. There is no benefit to anyone except like very surface level pleasures for the woman, and I guess the man too, but only for so long. Otherwise, there's no benefit. There's no benefit to the woman being older. It's entirely predatory.
Unless you're just talking about if you want to take certain, like for instance, like Fresh and Fritz mentality, you only use them for recreational use and practice.
You mean Fed and Fraud?
No, I
Or,
reject that.
or,
I don't. No, I don't.
no, I'm saying if you take their position, keyword. I'm not.
Oh.
If you take their position on.
I
For some
think
men,
what
dude.
I think
I'm
what
not saying you
Fresh and
do.
Fit says is just horseshit, but that's a whole other discussion.
Say,
mean,
Arch, I think I know a nice little segue because I want to shit talk V because that wasn't
Yes.
he like the guy who kind of gave you the idea for this episode,
Yep.
and he is the epitome of why I despise the anime community so much. And it's also the reason why I don't really like gamers much these days, despite me being a hardcore gamer as well.
Wait, are
But
we talking about the
he,
Goonagate shit again?
no, this is so V made a post about hag maxing. It's like, oh, it's why the only people complaining about this are people who are not straight. No, V, there's good reasons why people complain about hag maxing, and we went over so many
Yeah.
reasons as to why it's not a good thing.
And I countered
V,
him by saying like I've been with older women. So you can't say that about me. I know what I'm talking about. I have hindsight. I have the power of hindsight. just try to argue with me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but the
all
thing
I
is,
just have to say is in a Persona 5, like it's supposed to be funny, But
yeah.
he just
But
argues.
the problem is V. There are times when he wishes to be a shit stirrer, and like in many ways, he actually in many ways is guilty of the shit Dev does on Twitter. And the thing is with V, right? I mean, one of the things that I got really annoyed with him, slightly off topic, is when he was arguing with Spoon over the car aspect. Though, am I an arsehole with the whole shit with the car, with that Reddit story?
Which one was that? Was
Okay,
that
so
something
basically
that was?
V. Okay, basically there was a Reddit story like 18 months ago that V did, which Spoon did a response video to it, and then they had the back and forth about it. That basically V supported the mother trying to blackmail her son, who got the keys to a '57 Chevy Bella from a deceased grandfather, from a deceased father, or the son's grandfather, when the kids got so much cash in inheritance. And she was trying to blackmail the son to sell it so she could get access to the money for various things. And trying to use the fact, oh, the money we saved for college, when I'm not going to give you unless you sell the car. And V was trying to defend the mother. When I was like, no, V, she is a fucking grade A cunt who's trying to blackmail the kid into selling the car and disrespecting the wishes of her father. Like, get your gypsy brain out of your fucking mind. Forget your gypsy brain right now, and respect the wishes of the father, of the grandfather, okay? Or in the woman's case, the father, right? He gave his grandson the keys to a 57 Bel Air to honor and respect it. Plus, the freaking rest of the kids and herself got cash. Why not respect the wishes of your deceased father? Instead of being a selfish bitch. Just stop it, all right?
V is.
So V
but
was
then again,
in the wrong with that. Yeah, V was in the complete wrong about that. And yeah, Colonel and another guy, Kaiser, Long John Kaiser, loving your impression of V. Yeah, V.
Oh,
By the way,
it's because he really does piss me off sometimes. And when it comes to thinking of and when it comes to me making responses to libertarians, I often like to talk. To myself and do my V impersonation every time I want to make fun of lolberts.
yeah, well,
I don't
again,
care
he's
if people
still a
think
bitch,
that's.
but-
I don't care if people think that's pathetic. It's Scurvy is autistic. I could get away with it.
Well, yeah, but he's still a bitch for blocking me on Twitter. But like,
Oh yeah, he is a
But
bitch.
yeah, and also another aspect of women, it's kind of connected to Hag Maxing thing, but also like women lying. The whole Ollie Murs thing, where Sargon and co were trying to claim women are not lying when they said they prefer Ollie before, the before versus the after.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
thankfully,
Oh,
Sargon admitted he
yeah.
was wrong on that point. And I was like, and Spoon ultimately was on the ball because he does like to train and, be in good shape and all that. Women love to fucking lie. All right, don't listen to their words. Focus on their actions. Like the BS about women liking dad bods. That's a complete fucking lie. Because if you literally look at their
That's
definition
herd
of a
shit.
dad bod, yeah, no. It's not even herd shit, right? It's just their definition of a dad bod is not a dad bod. Do you know what it is? The worst example, it's a lumberjack build.
Yeah.
It's not a dad bod where you have the gut sticking out, covering your penis and shit like that. No, they're literally talking about a Henry Cavill like shirtless build in like the first Superman film he did. That's their
Yep.
idea of a dad bod, which is not what most people think of a dad bod. It's literally just a mature, shredded look. It's just a matured like strongman build. Not like
Weathered.
Mr.
I
Olympian
would say
Arnold.
weathered.
Yeah, like rugged, like the rugged, like experienced look. Okay, that's what it is. And also, one thing about attraction, which is generally true with women regarding what women want in men. Also, I'm speaking heterosexual, of course, so I can't speak for lesbian and gay relationships, of course. Is that what they like is a certain symmetry of hips to shoulder ratio for men. If they like one with a certain mathematical ratio when it comes to the shoulders versus the hips on men, believe it or not. This has actually been replicated with the likes of, I think David Buss must have went into this when he looked at this study of like sexuality and like sexual desires between the genders, or the sexes, I should say. And man, a lot of women, they love to claim they like something, but as far as I'm concerned, the best way to tell what someone actually likes is to just look at their dating history.
Yeah.
Because revealed preferences are always true, stated preferences are never true.
Although, that might only be true for
Yeah.
women, or maybe I'm just weird, because what I'm most attracted to is redheads, and I've never been with one. Only blondes and brunettes, and that's not like intentional. I like who I like, and most of the redheads, vast majority of the redheads I've ever known in person were not attractive at all. But
The girls
when an
always
attractive
been the
woman
nicest.
is a redhead, like that's my absolute favorite. But I've never been with one. Just saying.
I know for me, because I've never had a girlfriend before, but I do know that the type of woman I like the most for me it would be the petite women. That's because they've been the nicest to me. It's that simple. They've been the nicest to me, and they've also been the most feminine. So naturally, scurvy
Well, that's
likey.
well, okay. That's okay. There's multiple reasons for that, but like the thing is, I would say that's definitely true with women. Now, for the men aspect, quite often with men, they don't stick to one type of woman. Generally speaking, there's actually a bit of very variety with the type of women that they
Oh
date.
yeah.
Generally speaking, if you're talking about hair color or let's just say body types per se, or
Oh,
like
that's
size
good
of
to know.
breasts or size of hips, etc. That's not necessarily the case because, ironically enough, the analogy when it comes to what mate selection between men and women desire quality, whereas men desire variety. Or to
Really?
Yep.
use analogy I've heard some, yeah, like
That
the
wow, that
analogy I've
explains
heard,
a lot about my history with them.
yeah, yeah,
Mine
exactly
too,
right.
to a
It's a
lesser
general
extent.
trend. And again, this is a general trend when it comes to evolutionary psychology. Okay, it's not absolute. It's just a general trend that has been replicated. And what's funny is, an analogy when it comes to men is what they call the Baskin and Robbins idea. Is that they may like something specifically, but occasionally they want something slightly different. So, for example, you might have a man who is, let's say, uh, married to a woman, but they are willing to have a no strings attached affair with a woman who's slightly different, just because they fancy something different, and there's no emotional attachment to it. Now, I'm not endorsing this. Before anyone says anything, this is not an endorsement, okay? But there is multiple examples of men who are happily taken who decide to have a fling, like a one night stand with a different woman. Maybe it's because his wife is blonde and he fancied a brunette, just to get out of his system, but he still goes back to his woman. Now, it's not an endorsement, this, okay? This is not an endorsement of this lifestyle, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But
that
there's
actually
but
makes
there are men
sense.
out there,
I've had that.
you know.
I've had and I definitely won't go into details here, but I've had
Of
a
course, yeah.
similar experience with just certain things to do in bed. And then like once it's out of my system, I'm like, okay, I never need to do that again. I'm good.
Yeah, it's like a bucket list. You checked it off the list. That's that aspect, right? And that's the funny thing with men is, especially if you look at the most top shelf men, if you look at the hypergamous aspect, especially as is the case in like the Asian cultures, right? It was highly normalized for extremely powerful or highly like high status men to have multiple women around them that they happily sleep with, and there was no aspects of jealousy because all the women effectively accepted was they are sharing this man, and that he can replace them at the snap of his fingers.
Yeah, it goes back to
It was basically,
what I keep saying
yeah,
about them, survival. Like as long as they're taken care of, like someone like Andrew Tate, how does he have so
yeah,
many women who are willing to share him? Because he can throw 30 grand at them a month. They're taken care of, so
exactly,
they don't give a shit.
exactly,
But men
exactly.
value loyalty
Yeah,
because we want the child that you're growing to be ours, and also
exactly,
we care about you more, generally speaking, unless you're
exactly.
a slur
Yeah,
that I
like
won't say about Andrew Tate, unless you're something like that.
for
You
sure.
know, most men want just one, and they want to be
Yeah,
loyal to her. They want to love her with all their heart. Sounds sappy, but it's
yeah.
true. Most men
No,
want
no, no.
that.
It's like, yeah, yeah. Because like I think because what a lot okay, a lot of women struggle to process this, right? Uh, it's how each gender regards loyalty. Okay. Now here's the funny thing: when how men see loyalty in women is regarding to the object of sex, whereas with women, how they see loyalty in men is not due to sex, but due to resources and protection.
Yep.
Exactly.
Now, here's the ironic thing, right? To quote, I hate to, again, sorry if I'm sound like I'm under ironically doing advertisement for Rich Cooper here, but he made a very good point. how men and women commit adultery between each other, right? The analogy was men cheat, women betray.
That is good. I
That's what.
like that. I'm using that.
Yeah.
I don't exactly
Okay. Now,
like Rich Cooper, but he does drop some pretty good
yeah.
like
Yeah.
phrases.
Yeah. So when it comes, so for instance, if you look at when there is a third person involved between the sexes, right? Women constantly ask, "Do you love her?" Whereas men ask, "Did you fuck him?"
Yep.
And that is that is one major difference between the genders that most people don't acknowledge until you bring it up. Because as far as the women's concerned, a man could be highly guilty of adultery on the proviso that he doesn't love them. Right? The man could be a serial whore in terms of adultery, and I mean whore in the truest sense of the word. But on the proviso, he's always coming back to one particular woman, and it's all fully no strings attached, no emotion, no emotional exchange, or emotional connection, intercourse. She's perfectly content with that. Many women are perfectly content with that.
It's still wrong though. I would
No, I
say
agree it's wrong.
it's
No,
less wrong
I'm
for
not.
men, but it's still wrong.
Yeah. I am not making any endorsements for adultery whatsoever, ladies and gentlemen. I am not making an endorsement. Okay, I don't personally support adultery whatsoever.
Oh,
I
you're
would.
just
I hold
explaining something.
exactly like
That's all.
you could argue being a moral preacher here, but I would argue adultery is the purest form of treason
Yeah.
in many ways. Okay, and I know that sounds quite crazy. You could argue that's a highly biblical position to hold. Me being a ex-militant atheist, okay. But as you all know, betrayal and treason always comes from within. It never comes from the outside.
Yep.
And on that aspect, I don't agree with the so-called one-sided polygamous relationship setups, right? However, I do acknowledge and agree with a lot of the Red Pill community in the sense that for a man, if you want to maintain desire in your woman's eyes, you have to demonstrate the ability that you can replace her.
I mean, yeah, I completely agree with you, but this is one of the reasons that
Yeah.
my view of women has plummeted so much. Because, like, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
Like,
that's
fucked
one of
up
the
shit like
things
that
as
is
to
true.
why so many women at bars wanted to sleep with me because they perceived me as doing well with other women. Now, keep in mind, Scurvy's a virgin himself, but it's like a lot of the women that had interest in wanting to try to take my V card. I didn't give them to them because I don't want to get no disease from no bar wench. But
of course.
but I noticed that like whenever I was like talking to a woman, and keep in mind I was saying some really nasty things. I'm quite the
Oh, I bet
edgelord
you were.
myself.
Oh, I bet you
I
were. You dirty little
No,
boy.
no, no. I was just calling her. I was just calling her all sorts of names. You know, the F slur,
Oh,
whore. Um,
you absolute misogynist. You're so
no,
riddled
not
with toxic
really.
masculinity. I'm just messing
I
with
wouldn't
you.
say I wouldn't say that. It's just I don't really hold the opinions of bar wenches that high compared to like some like compared to like my sisters in Christ. Um,
Of course,
so
of course.
there's that. Um, but for me, it was just like they saw that, like they saw me, you know, and you know the other women saw me have, you know, pretty in their mind successful conversations, and of course the woman who I was insulting wanted to sleep with me. That's usually what happens once I use a little bit of wit in my insults as well.
Of
Um,
course, of course.
and
But,
I
yeah,
was also I was also just like, and keep in mind I'm just like this in general, especially when I got shit faced drunk. Um,
yeah.
but for me, I noticed that they saw that I was competent with other women, and that's why they wanted, or that's why they wanted to try to have a chance. And it's
Yeah, for
and
sure, for
it's
sure.
just like women just like it when you show and like competency, especially since so many men these days, they're not gonna be saying the kinds of things that I say and act and believe in. They're
It's,
not going to.
You know what
But me,
annoys
I'm
me?
yeah,
just
again,
like, I don't give a shit if you have a problem with this. This is what I believe. Take it or leave it. And if you want to leave it, then fuck off.
You know what
And
annoys
right.
me
it
so
was
much?
literally like the stone toss meme, where it's like, oh, after the guy said what he said, and the black woman was like
Oh, the I'm
blushing.
racist. The I'm racist
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
one. But for
as you
for
were
me, it
saying
was
that
like it's a mix of racism, anti-them, and sexism.
yeah, as you were saying that. Sorry.
Oh,
Uh,
I think I forgot what I was going to say. Something that annoys me about
okay.
women.
Oh, okay.
Give me a
Yeah.
second. Give me a second.
Right.
No, I lost it.
Okay. So yeah, basically, what I was going to say earlier, with when you pointed out like what I was saying about how to make yourself seem valuable to women is to how to be able to
Oh,
replace them, and you said,
I
"Oh,
remembered.
that gives you low value to women." Yes.
All right, real quick. Sorry, you made me remember.
Yes, mate. Yeah.
Something that just adds to my annoyance with women is that since I've become more misogynistic, for lack of a better word, they have shown more interest in me. Like when
Yeah,
when
Exactly.
I when I'm
That's
less interested in them, they become more interested in me. I'm just like, are you fucking shitting me?
yes.
that's just
It's
how
the
women work.
yes. It's as the quote the Al Bundy quote from Married with Children. Very on point show, and it's aged very well. Despite it being made in the 80s. Women don't try to understand women. Women understand each other and they hate each other. So I would dare argue, gentlemen, if any woman claims you are a misogynist, just respond with, "Of course I am. It's because I understand women."
That's a good one.
Yeah,
I'll probably use that in the future.
misogyny is just when men hate women as much as they hate each other.
Exactly. So therefore, all women are guilty of maternalized misogyny. So therefore, they should shut the hell up. And that's one thing women hate is when you emphasize their worst traits right back at them, or when you give them the same energy back. Like when was it TikTok Vince talking about the sassy men epidemic. The whole
The
drizzle thing that was going around recently.
oh
Well, I
y-
should say
oh
recently. This was all
yeah,
last year. Yeah,
I'm not so
that
sure.
was just men. Okay, so basically, there was this sort of joke going around with men on TikTok. Specifically, it was
his
basically
king energy.
yeah, yeah. But they talk about where they're basically parodying the sparkle gold digger types regarding. Oh, what's that? You want me to pay for the date? Drizzle, now, honey, do you not see how much this shirt costs? You know how much my car costs and all that? And you're expecting me as well to pay for the date? Man, you're broke as hell. Drizzle, baby. Just mocking the fact about women basically being gold diggers and basically giving them the same energy, and women don't know how to respond to that, and they're calling it the sassy men epidemic. When all it is, honey, is just giving you your own energy back at you.
It's just a mirror.
Which ironic of good. Yeah, exactly. You're just holding up a mirror, which is ironic enough. My point hours ago when I said about just giving them the same energy to communists, just treat them exactly how they treat you. They hate showing in a mirror image of themselves because it shows that ugly reflection. And that's the
Say,
ironic. And that's the ironic thing is that like I would never call myself a womanizer or player, but like one thing I always found comical when it comes to women is that how is it you could have these tough conversations with women and they don't end up hating you? And I say to them, because most of the time when I'm telling them this, ironically enough, I'm effectively acting in this context, almost like acting like their father talking to their daughter. Because
Yeah,
one thing I get told a lot is I emphasize a lot of dad energy.
yeah. Remember what I said about the the oldest woman I've ever
Yeah,
been with? The thing she said to
yeah,
me, which was, my favorite thing about you is that you don't let me control you, and I'll never forget that. It taught me a
hmm
lot about women. I used to think it was just a her thing, and I thought, oh yeah, she was psycho because she said that. And as I got older,
no,
years later, I was like, wait a minute, that's a woman thing. That was not a just her thing.
yeah. And like, I mean, it actually makes me laugh. Like, you know what? If I ever got on the whatever podcast and I had a couple of whiteboards, I'd love to play a little game with all the women on there. I would need
If they're
Brian.
intellectually capable of doing so.
Oh no 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 no! It's a great little game. It's a great little game because women like drama and to bring drama and stimulus. All right, it's a little game we could play. We could gamify this. All right, and especially with the
Okay.
autistic people out there because you must gamify everything, right? I would give them. Let's see.
Yes,
I'm
we
gonna be
do.
myself. I'm gonna be by myself, right? I would need Brian and one female. Maybe it could be one of the women like Madison or whatever. Like one of the women who's
Gorlock the
constantly.
Destroyer.
No, no, we're not having Gorlock. We're not having Gorlock, right? There's one of those women who's constantly, repeatedly on the show, who's normally silent, right? Or they might say a line or two, right? It used to be Madison, there's like a blonde chick, right?
Oh,
You
that would
just have
be
them two as
that would be Felicity. Yeah,
that's it,
and I
Felicity,
only
right?
know that because
You
yes, I
have,
find her very attractive.
oh, yeah, she
Ah,
is
that's her
cute, although
name.
she is cute, but she is a criminal,
Oh, yeah, okay.
as
Not
I
cute
found out by that
anymore.
one clip. Yeah, she got done for driving recklessly and hitting multiple cars. But anyway, and she's actually on camera being arrested. But anyway,
Yeah, I know.
what I'd like, let's say them two, what I like them two be independent adjudicators, right? It'd be myself against all the other female guests, right? And the first game we're going to play is you have to write down the ideal husband. Like, like Build-A-Bear?
Build a man.
Yeah, you're gonna play the ideal husband. Think of the person. You basically write down all the attributes you think all the women, including yourself, would want in a husband, right? You write down all the attributes, right? And I do the same. And then the lady, who is it, Felicity? Did you say the blondie's name was?
Yes.
Yeah, Felicity, right? She then judges which would be the better man, right? And then we play the same game for Build a Wife, okay? And Brian becomes the independent adjudicator. Right? We play this
Mm-hmm.
game. It's just me, myself. I'm alone. I'm one man army versus, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, 7 women. Okay, right? And we play
Yep.
this game again, right? And I pick the perfect way, and Brian becomes the official operator of this, and he decides who wins, right? And I expect, because I'm quite arrogant, I back myself this, I will win both departments, right? And then, I'm gonna ask and I'm gonna ask all these women, why do you think I won and you lost?
Huh.
And I'd love
Why?
to see them think and see if they can articulate why this is the case. Because I
I
found
see.
when you gamify these types of subjects, it actually makes them become more logically coherent with their understanding of the world.
Yeah,
Because I remember I
don't
once,
meet them at their
yeah,
level. Don't be like what's your most this or what's your preferred that. Like don't ask them those kinds of
no, no,
questions.
no,
Like make it competitive.
no, 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 no. That's the point. This game would be competitive.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, that's the game. Yeah, yeah, I would make it competitive. That's what I'm saying. I'm gamifying it, right? Because you need that little bit of competition to bring a bit of spice. You know what I mean? Because you like a little bit of drama. They like a bit of chaos. You know. And
Yeah,
and
it's
the
harder
thing
to
is, if
lie
you
when you're
play,
trying to win.
to a point, yes.
In,
But then
in
I think with
never mind. I'll shut up.
no, 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 that's fine, it's fine. I know what she was going with, but I think something like that on because as much as like I can understand why some people are critical of the whatever podcast, but I like to see it as a great social experiment or a great social science experiment of how polar opposite the genders are on average when you hear them speak. That's the thing. I'm actually. That's one thing I will say. Like, because I don't really watch the. I've only watched one full podcast all the way through. And I will say it took me a good.
So
It took me a
long.
couple of attempts to watch. Yeah, I agree. Right. I tend to watch like the clips where they do like 10 to 30 minute clips of certain pieces of the show because it's just more bite size, right? Because it gets to mainly the juicy parts, right? And what I find funny is how much cognitive dissonance is highlighted in these women. But quite often, I find the best way to get people to go against their positions, and Andrew Wilson's pretty good at this when he does this, but sometimes he's perhaps a bit too forceful when it comes to his argumentation,
Yeah, but
which a lot of women don't like. What I will say is, if you gamify it, or you like play a little game with them, I would find they tend to be significantly more willing to accept the position. If you like play a little game with them, versus when you're trying to treat them like an adult, or almost like try and argue the position.
yeah, I can
Yeah,
agree with that.
I see your point.
Because I mean, it's not a case of like I want to play this game, but it's more about me with my, you know, learning as I grown about how to get people to understand the position. I found quite often gamifying it is a good way to do it because, you said it earlier, Arch. A lot of women have the mentality of children. Well, guess what? Children like to play games.
Exactly. I was just about to say
So
that.
why not?
And
So why
also,
not play it to game?
yeah, and it goes back to the problem with Cougars, which is that because women have the minds of children. Again, you just have to ask, okay, why does this older woman want a younger man when you are wired to handle little people? Why do you want to be with this man? Why do you want this younger man to be your partner?
Yeah, for the most part, they don't want a partner. What they want, overwhelmingly, is to basically get knocked up. A lot of the times. Or
Get knocked up or
not necessarily
feel
get pregnant.
young or just have
Yeah.
something to
Or get that
control.
sexual validation. Yeah, it's that sexual validation aspect, all right? They want to relive their youth. Okay? That's what it is a lot of the time. Now, there is a tiny minority aspect. I wouldn't necessarily. You could make the argument, Arch, you were somewhat of a victim of this. Victim's not the right word, I would say. But you might have been.
Casualty.
I guess casualty perhaps be a better word. Of this is, I have noticed a tiny minority of these cougar type women, when they get with a young man, what they're looking for is the best way, they want a quote unquote surrogate husband that almost plays the role of a son at the same time.
Yep. Oh. I just remembered.
I've heard,
I just remembered
what's
the
that,
most
sorry?
hilarious fact. I don't know how I
What's
forgot this. I had the same name as her son.
Oh god, you got it, man.
I can't believe I
man,
forgot that. That is so hilarious.
Okay,
So really dark.
Scurvy,
Yeah.
chat. Be honest here. Am I a prophet? Do I have secretly premonitional / untapped psychic potential here, and I do not know it?
Possibly.
Or is that
It's I don't know.
sheer coincidence? I think that's
Probably
just sheer coincidence.
coincidence.
Yeah, I just really seem to have the habit of that. But I have noticed this concept, and this is very true with a lot of single mothers.
Oh,
That
don't get
when
me
it comes to
started
this
on
son,
single moms.
don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. I can name everything you want to say and then some, okay? But a lot of single mothers are very guilty of this detail. That I said earlier they tend to raise their sons as defected daughters.
Yeah.
Well, there's the other side of it, which is a minority aspect, is that a lot of single moms raise their sons to be a surrogate husband. Like a
Yeah.
Yes,
surrogate beta
that is
husband.
correct.
Fertilizing. I think the
Yeah,
word is parentalizing. Yeah, single
yeah,
moms do that all the time.
yeah,
And
and
do
this
you
is
know that in the like that's a very common thing in the black community? Like
very
the
true.
sons
Yeah.
of single mothers are just if you don't talk bad about my mama and what?
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, like for myself, like I mean, my relationship with my mother has been very up and down. It's okay now, but it's been, you know, very negative in many aspects, right? But one thing I am grateful to my mother, though, she didn't raise me to be a surrogate husband. I am so grateful for that. Because a lot of mothers, and I wouldn't necessarily say they are doing this intentionally speaking, but I do find that a lot of, especially single mothers out there, are guilty of this, but they're unaware of it because they lack the self awareness of what they're doing. And this is another aspect why single fathers, do a better job of raising kids than single mothers. Is the fact that the fathers, when it comes to their daughters, they're not raising their daughters to be a surrogate wife.
I mean, that
Or
does
are they?
happen, but it's for the exact same reasons. It's predatory. Like, and men, when if a man does it, it's a lot less common. But if a man does it, it is intentional.
Yeah, yeah,
Look no
yeah, yeah.
further
I'm
than
saying, yeah,
what you're talking about with women like raising their sons to be surrogate husbands. You need not look any further as an example anyway, not proof, but just an example.
yeah.
Than the first Toy Story when I forget her name, Sid's little sister. You remember when
Oh, yeah,
Buzz was like he was all depressed and he lost his arm, and then she
yeah,
like starts a little tea party with him. That's
yeah,
that's absolutely true about girls and women, how they make everything
yeah,
like them, because no one,
yes.
no man at least in their right mind would think that Buzz Lightyear would want to have a little tea party and wear a pink dress. But
Oh,
that
for sure.
is
Oh, God.
that is how girls play with toys, and that's how women play with men.
Oh, you know what? Actually, that reminds me of something Aidan Palatine talked about when it came to like video games and media, of like the personification of a character. I believe it's called some sort of like personification of a character. Whereas this is a very much notorious trait with women, but also just in general, people who are politically left leaning, is they have to effectively make the antagonist them in a fictional universe. Whereas those who are right wing, or those who are definitely much more the male perspective, they don't make the protagonist themselves in a new world. They're talking about the character as if it's his own person.
Yeah, like they'll like men, or I should say boys, when they're playing with a
Yeah,
Batman action figure, they're pretending to be Batman. Yeah.
exactly. Doing the voice like I'm Batman, or the various like interpretation of Batman. Whether it be Conor Conroy or like Michael Keaton or Christian Bale, etc. They're all trying to be Batman and generally respect the law of Batman, with very few exceptions, I would dare say, generally speaking. But when it comes to women, if they have a character, even if they have a predefined law, they would disregard it and make it inherently selfish and only about themselves
Yeah, I mean, women do that with
consistently. And
everything.
that,
Everything has to be in their image. It's not just with
yeah,
toys or whatnot. Just everything. They're selfish
yeah,
creatures,
and in
and it always
fact,
shows.
I got a shot. I'm gonna say the statement, and I will, to use the expression, die on this hill. Women are inherently more narcissistic than men are.
Substantially, yes.
Even though the
Absolutely.
so-called data out there says there are more male narcissists than female narcissists, I would dare argue if you were to directly quote the DSM-5's definition of narcissism, and I wouldn't recommend this generally speaking, because I know a lot of people are guilty of this, of being textbook fucking psychologists. But I would dare argue, if you, from a logical, if you use deductive reasoning, and the three laws of logic, you applied each of the traits of a narcissist, I would dare argue a good chunk of the female population fit the definition of a narcissist.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
very self-centered individuals.
Yeah, in fact, I would dare argue the highest ratio of narcissistic women are in Hollywood and the music industry.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to be some degree of a narcissist to want to be an actor in the first place. Yeah.
I mean, hell, like, how many female celebrities can we think of the top of my head that we would bet money on are narcissist?
I mean, damn near all of them. And also,
Oh, I can name.
how many,
Yeah.
like, just from what you've observed, generally speaking, how many how many actresses make their sons into girls? A lot.
Oh God.
What
Oh
is
God.
that if it's not narcissism?
Well, some would argue it's the Hollywood's humiliation rituals that they push a bunch of actors and actresses into, whether it be tuning kids or forcing men to wear dresses, among other things. Like, there's a lot of humiliation rituals that you must do to be a part of the club, as they say.
Yeah, so they can trust you.
Oh yeah, because you went through a humiliation ritual. I mean, I've heard of like things within the military or even in like professional sports teams where a guy gets transferred over and you have to sing or dance to it's almost like a semi humiliation ritual, but it's just a way to prove that you're not stuck up as a way.
Yeah.
It's just one of those like trial aspects, where you haze each other and all that. And yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ, the amount of Hollywood people in Hollywood who have true kids is such an outrageous statistical anomaly that
I'll
it
be
cannot
back.
be. No, sure thing, Skibby. It cannot be explained by natural causes. Because I think, as much as I really detest him nowadays, Jordan B. Peterson did have a point that when someone said they had a child who was like trans and the other one who was pansexual, and he said the likelihood of had that was so absurdly small that the default position should be that you actually push this idea onto him and you're a predator and you should be arrested for it.
100%. Especially when, like, someone like, I think it's Megan Fox, who, like, had 3 sons, and all 3 of them are now troons. Like, what are the odds of that happening completely on their own? 0.
Yeah, I mean it's the whole joke about a trans son and a vegan cat. I know exactly who's making the decisions and it's not the cat or the child. Yeah, for instance, I mean if I were to go up just female narcissists who I know in Hollywood, I mean hell, I can name 5 at the top of my head. And I doubt the chat or the commentators would disagree with this. But Taylor Swift, Jennifer Lopez, Meghan Markle, uh, Meghan
That
Markle's
one.
a straight up narcissist.
Yeah, no
The way she
question.
tried acting
No
innocent,
matter what your views are,
the way
we
she
can all
tried,
agree on that. We can all be united on that.
yeah, the way she tried acting, yeah, but like, oh, what else is there? I did have 2 more off the top of my head. God, I just lost
I'm
it.
back.
Welcome back,
Sorry if I
Scurvy.
made
Yeah,
you
we're
forget.
talking about celebrities we're certain we're narcissists. So yeah, I said Taylor Swift, who did I say? Meghan Markle and who was the
Jennifer
third? Oh yeah,
Lopez.
Jennifer Lopez. Definitely, I would put big money on them being narcissist. If they had, I don't know, if Jordan Peterson stopped being a cuck and went back to being a highly credited clinical psychologist.
Clean your room for Israel.
Yeah, yeah, shut up. Yeah, but what's it called? What's it called? Uh, yes, like there's so many examples because I remember discussing with a lady when she thought Donald Trump was a narcissist, and I argued Donald Trump is not a narcissist for one key reason, and that reason being he is highly egotistical, which can be, which is a trait of narcissism. But the key thing is, one thing that separates a narcissist from someone who's egotistical is the ability to handle being made fun of. And Donald Trump will happily laugh along being made fun of. Like, he can handle a roast. And he happily laughs along with roasting. Yeah, Donald Trump, yeah. Which is a trait I can respect with somebody, is can they handle being made fun of?
Well, it's interesting is, you said, like, the traits of narcissists almost completely match the traits of your average woman. I never thought of it that way because I've always thought of it as make a list of traits, like behavioral traits that children have, and line that up with typical behaviors of women. It's almost a complete match too. So if both of those are true, like the narcissist list and the child being a child list or being childish list, if both of them are true, I think that speaks volumes, even more volumes about the nature of power. Because what do children and women have in common, or for that matter, even narcissists? It's a type of weakness.
Okay.
Just a theory.
Colonel, thank you for my sure thing, Arch, and thank you, Colonel and chat, for reminding me one of the names, Ariana Grande. She's definitely narcissistic, especially with her reaction to the Manchester bombings at one of her concerts. That the Manchester bombing in England.
Yeah.
Her response to that, I'm like, talk about not having fucking self-awareness. What else is there?
Well, that's what adrenochrome does to you.
Yeah, that's true. You know what? Actually, who else who actually, by the looks of it, seems to be narcissistic, but not to the same extent in recent weeks? Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds' wife.
Oh yeah.
Ah.
The whole controversy of her last film, what was it? It Ends With Us. I'm not sure if that's narcissist. Like, I'm kind of questioning: is that narcissism, or is that just being extremely lacking in self-awareness and just digging in and just being digging into being spiteful and not changing your mind?
I mean, yeah, I would go with the latter normally, at least. Like, she's just being a woman.
Yeah,
that's just me.
Yeah. But yeah, but then again, a lot of the traits that we consider women, I would argue there's a large overlap with being a child. Like having temper tantrums and all that. But it's like for instance, when people talk about, like, I remember speaking this with with various people in Red Bull circles, is when people talk about bad female traits, and I'm just like, they're not necessarily bad traits about women. What you're talking about is traits of a child in many ways. Yeah. Like causing a scene when you're told the word no. That's something you typically expect of children.
Or being highly irritable when you're hungry or sleepy.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I can be quite I am guilty of being hangry. I am guilty of being hangry. That's more of like the irritation of when I'm starving and I can't eat. It's like the irritation aspect where it's just like, it's the classic example of like I know you perhaps seen I'm not sure if they shared the advert over there stateside, but over here we used to have a Snickers advert of a guy who's acting like a dry diva, and the guy's like, the advert basically comes in, the guy lobs the Snickers to bars and forces them to eat it, a woman to eat it, and then it cuts back, it's just a dude just being a normal dude. It's like, oh, much better.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's not a guy dressed up in drag when he does the joke. It's literally an actress being a right diva. And then it cuts to a bloke saying, oh yeah, it's much better. Just parodying the aspect of like the hangry diva aspect. And yeah, like often a lot of things can be solved often by have you eaten? Have you drunk water? And also just have a roll around in the bed, and often that just solves the problem between the genders.
Yeah.
Like like when I hear women complain about how they have a headache, I'm like, honey, you need to drink water. You're quite often
Actually,
having a headache is often a sign of dehydration.
I saw a clip. This was like a couple of years ago. I saw a clip from Andrew Tate talking about this. He's like, he said basically
I know which one
everything
you're
you just
talking
said.
about.
Like, they have headaches all the time. Have you ever seen them drink water? Like, yeah, it's
Yeah,
actually true.
yeah. I mean, it's true though, but it's like for instance, you know when people think they're hungry, right? Like at night, thinking they're hungry. It's like most of the time that's not actually true. What it is you're actually you just need a cup of water. Just drink a cup of water and see if you still feel hungry. Because most of the time it's not hunger, it's actually something else. Because sometimes your body gives you mixed signals or gives you the wrong signals of what you need.
Yep.
You know, like it's another example. Uh, what's another example? Like there is such things like that. It's like, um, I know the Germans have a specific word for this, but like a lot of people when they eat, they're eating not because they're hungry, but they eat because they're bored.
Yeah, that tends to be true. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'll be honest, I'm very guilty of this. But I eat because I'm bored, because it's a sign of boredom. It could be at night time. I'm just like bored out of my mind. I decide to make myself a sandwich and like get some, as you would say across the pond, potato chips with that.
Yeah.
I'm not eating because I'm
Um,
actually hungry. I'm eating because I'm bored.
yeah. I just realized this might be a perfect way to end this.
Oh shit!
So,
Yeah, we have been
uh,
going on for Jesus Christ.
yeah, almost 4 hours.
And
God, I lost me.
Scurvy's getting a little tired
Yeah,
here because I'm not piping up as usual.
I'm still going good, and it's like
I'll
nearly 4 a.m. here.
I'll close it. I'll try to close it for you, Scurvy, because it's pretty late for
Yes.
you. But
Oh,
Yes.
it's
all
only
the
11, but it's just like I am just I don't know. We've been going on for a while, so
yeah, you burn
Yeah.
out before most people do. So I'll try to
I mean,
let's
to
try
be
to
fair,
close this. I think what everything we've been talking about the last 20 or so minutes, or maybe even longer,
yeah,
about like how women's traits line up perfectly with that of children and of narcissists
yeah,
in relationships, especially in marriages and proper marriages for that.
yeah,
What what's true that no one wants to be true, or seemingly no one, especially women, is that
yeah,
basically in all relationships there's a hierarchy, whether it's just two people or whether it's like even a bunch of siblings. Someone
yeah,
is in charge of them, like, and it's usually like the older sibling, has some authority over his or her younger siblings. But even
yeah.
in just a romantic, one man one woman relationship, there's still a
Mhm.
hierarchy. Naturally, no matter how much you believe in egalitarianism, there's still a hierarchy. Someone's in charge. Who should be in charge? The one who has the mind of a child, the one who can't control their emotions, the one who's literally mentally wired to handle small people, small,
Yeah,
defenseless, sick people, nurturing
yeah,
as most people think of it.
yeah.
Should that person have the power, the authority over the other? Doesn't make any sense, does it? So,
No.
you know, when it comes to those kinds of relationships, like, men think they know what they want. And a lot of guys are scumbags too. Like, they want to have fun, and this 35,
Sleep around.
45-year-old woman has big tits. You know, it, how do you convince
She had the big titties.
how do you
Yeah.
convince them that it's wrong? Like, no, 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 stay away from that. That's nothing but trouble.
Yeah.
It's kind of difficult, but
Honestly, honestly,
go ahead.
quite
That's what
often.
religion's for.
Yeah, well, that is true, Skivvy. But ironically enough,
quite often when you want to convince somebody not to do something, you have to do reverse psychology, and you don't try and stop them from doing it. You have to, ironically enough, encourage them to do something, because then they start
That's
to
also
second guess
true.
themselves.
like, one
Like,
thing you
like
could do
I
is
know,
like
I know
try
this
to
sounds
convince
bad.
them to stay. Like, don't just sleep with them. Like, try to have a relationship. What? No,
Yeah. I know this sounds bad, and
I
obviously,
was just
you know, a
joking.
lot of people talk about manipulation, but it's like in many ways, if you really want to be purely pragmatic, technically speaking, almost everyone manipulates each other in some form or fashion.
Yeah, you could say that.
If we're being completely honest, right? Like everyone uses each other, right? It's just some of us. It's just a question of, do you accept this aspect as a natural reality, or are you going to live in denial? Like right now,
But oh,
you
good.
know, Arch could argue right now, I'm a guest and I'm using his platform, to put my face out there and put my voice out there to the world,
Yeah,
which is perfectly legitimate position to hold. But at the same time, you could also argue Arch is also using me as a new guest to potentially get extra eyeballs for his channel and potentially get a fresh perspective, or potentially maybe to learn something.
yeah. I mean, in nature, that's called symbiosis. That is the
Yeah,
ideal
that's
form of living, regardless of what species you are. You
yeah,
know, like we
mutually beneficial relationships.
we think of we think of good and evil. This is an oversimplification. I understand that, but just for
Right?
the sake of
Of
argument,
course.
we think of good and evil in a large sense as parasitic or symbiotic. You know, if you're both benefiting, are you really doing harm? I suppose
Well, true.
it depends on what you're using each other for, I suppose. But
Oh, for sure.
even if it's just a hookup, it's still wrong because you know, Hollywood especially, people like to pretend that you can have sex with someone and both of you will remain completely emotionally detached from each other. It's just fun. That's a myth. Someone, it's usually the woman, but it can be men too. Someone's going to get
For sure.
attached. Someone will.
Oh,
You
for
know,
sure.
get
Oh, for
attached to
sure.
the person that you actually intend to spend your life with. It's
Yeah. I mean,
safer.
one good exactly, like one thing that the old world got correct was, and this is actually one benefit of the old world not having access to modern technology, is the fact that because you didn't have highly effective get out of jail free cards, it naturally forces people to be more responsible because there is no safety net.
Yeah.
You know, whether it be like welfare state, like birth control, so on and so forth, right? Is that when you naturally have a safety net, it's going to encourage abuse of said safety net.
Yeah, it
It
becomes
doesn't
an
matter how
incentive.
much you intend. Exactly, it becomes an incentive, not a decentive, which is why my aspects when let's say when I'm ever arguing about politics when we're talking about crime and punishment, my main thing I'm looking for is to go with the most aggressive deterrent of what the thing is. Like, for instance, like I guess I could quickly go over this, but like for instance, the abortion subject, I hold an extremely unpopular opinion position. Is I'd argue the best way to stop abortion being so normalized is to is to effectively make women who get abortions under, I would say, by consensual, by what's it called, majority grounds, illegitimate abortions. You make the women who have these abortions victims of ultra late term abortions to get around YouTube censors. You do that enough times, women become less reckless when it comes to sexual promiscuity.
Yeah. And it's not just that. There's a whole number of things we could do, but we're just not willing to do them. That's really the main
No, it's
problem.
because it's because the people in power don't want to do that. It's because they're ultimately benefiting from the current status quo as it is. it's like I think Andrew Tate spoke about this, but like I know Andrew Wilson has spoke about this, and many others have noticed this as well. The idea, especially with second wave feminism, the idea was it was going to bring empowerment to women. The main people who benefited was the government itself and the major corporations. They both mutually benefited from second wave feminism because it gave them access to a significantly increase in the labor pool, which led to wage compression. And so, from the corporate side effects, they had extra access to labor so they can cause wage compression. But from the government side of things, now they had a complete extra source of people that they can tax from.
Yep.
So they make themselves more wealthy.
You still there, Scurvy?
And
I'm kind of zoning
Sorry,
out a
good
little,
boy.
but
I find it funny, Scobie. You're tired. Like we've been going for nearly 4 hours, and prior to this, I was on like a 6-7 hour plus space arguing with a Belgian woman.
I wish I had
I
that.
have,
I could do that when I'm drunk, but not sober.
dude,
I just
dude.
can't.
I am completely sober, right? I am completely sober. I haven't eaten in 16 hours. No, actually, I lied. It's about four. No, like 14 hours. Sorry, about 14 hours. I am not on any sort of drugs whatsoever, and I'm not exactly the fittest person in the world, but clearly I have some impressive stamina. Is there any single ladies out
That you
there? If you
do.
want a guy with impressive stamina, hit me up. Just kidding, of course.
For me, it's just like I feel like I've been treading on some of the same topics like over and over and over again these past few weeks. So it's just like, what else can
Well-
what else can I really say on this that
Well-
doesn't make me repeat myself? So there's that too.
Well, if Arch is willing for suggestions for next week's King's Council, which I'd like to make an appearance again, I would like to make a suggestion. Sorry.
You mean from the chat or from you?
Oh, from myself personally.
Oh,
Next week's
sure.
topic. Could we talk about? I guess you could say the main subject would be how to fix marriage in the West.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I'll think about it.
Because I personally have a lot to say on the subject of marriage, and I have some ideas which I would say, from a lot of the Christian perspective, are quite what's the word? Would be considered very extreme, but the principle behind them they can't really argue against. Oh, you could
I
argue
see.
enough. You could call the title "Make Marriage Great Again."
I don't know about that. I mean, I have an
No,
idea.
that's the jokingly title.
Then
That's the
I could also talk about the small hats as well.
Well, we can always do
Because
that.
Yes.
I also,
But
yes,
I
I
have a
always
few-
talk about the small hats.
That's low
but
hanging fruit. But like, I
that's
think because
pretty standard.
well, I mean, because like both you two obviously Christian monarchists and I'm a atheist monarchist, but I have high respect for the institution of marriage. So much so
As
that I
do
wouldn't
I.
get married. I have so much respect for marriage. I would not get married.
yeah, I have a few
I
ideas.
know that sounds contradictory.
I have a few ideas of my own. So, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, we could.
But
shoot
it's
shit
really
if
just
everyone's down for it.
really just revolves around like hard feudalism. But I don't know. We'll get to it later.
Okay, yes,
Scurvy, I'll
but we have
let
been
you
going on for,
I'll let you go
4
to
hours
sleep
here.
since you're losing steam.
I'm not going to be going to sleep. It's just like I just need I just need it's the autism, guys. I'm just going to be honest. It's the autism.
Oh, totally,
I need to get my mind properly stimulated. So I'm going to listen to some
That's good.
funny quotes from Pac-Man World 3. That
You
ought
know,
to do the
Scurvy-
trick.
You know, Scurvy, I know exactly of an Instagram account that will fix your autism problem. It involves a objectively cute woman who doesn't have an OnlyFans and she knows how to play the autism card.
Oh?
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. Well, let's just close out the stream and we'll figure out the next time off the
Sure
air.
thing, yeah. Of course, yeah.
All right.
Alrighty.
Goodbye, all 5 of you.
Right. Take care, all.
Take
Make sure to
care,
like, share, and
everyone.
subscribe. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe.